call the people in. We have a lot of people. Yeah.
¿Me llamabas?
Sí, para que te traigan la gente detrás más al fondo y los que vienen de vuelta los metes detrás.
You still have 50 people in the stairway as well.
Yeah, 50? Yeah. But I have to start because otherwise we're going to be...
Where are David's books? Do you know? Are they out at the
Here.
table?
I have here.
Okay, so
I'm going to show.
you'll plug that, and then people can get a copy.
Yeah.
As we discussed, I'm not going to come into this panel.
Yeah. You come in later to announce the medal.
Yeah. I'll come at
By the way,
the end of each one.
get the copy of the medal, like that they see it.
Yeah.
But the Microsoft people, they will not stay. So I think we give the medals here.
Oh, okay, we could do that.
Yeah.
At the end of each session.
Yeah, at least in each session. I think it's better. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Hello. If you can just focus on us a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start because we have 3 round tables and we have a lot of speakers, and it is a pleasure once again to host you at the WISeKey Davos event. So this is the 19th year that we do this in Davos. So WISeKey, being a Swiss cybersecurity company, thank you very much. Being a Swiss cybersecurity company has been very much focused on bringing cybersecurity as a main discussion topic in Davos. We started very early with a small breakfast. We got bigger into big events, and now in the Europa Hotel, which we have been doing for nearly 10 years now. This event is in cooperation with the Tech Accord, and we have speakers that represent this amazing group of the Tech Accord, which are companies, leading companies of the world, and they are working together towards cybersecurity issues and defending critical assets around the world. So today is going to be, the focus is going to be artificial intelligence, but obviously cybersecurity has a major component on what is going to happen in artificial intelligence in the future, as AI has been reported by the web to be one of the risks in the next 10 years. So is that a risk or is that an opportunity? Maybe both. We're going to debate that today. So I will, the problem we have is that we have a very short time and we have a lot of panelists. So we are requesting, and I really apologize for that, but I think it's great too because we have a diversity in the panel from different backgrounds and different industries, which makes very interesting. We also have 2 writers. There are 2 books, one done by Mark Minervich, or Planet Powered by AI, which is a bestseller in the United States, and also by our friend David Shearer, Basic AI. This book, by the way, I think is available, right? You are in the back corner. Yeah. Great. So you have two amazing writers with us as well, which are going to comment. So in order to start, I will ask the panel to introduce themselves directly. I think it's the easiest way. And then we start with the Q&A. So the microphones are available. Yeah, Anastasia will give you the microphone. So maybe let's start with you, Navrop. Yeah.
Thank you, Carlos. Is it on? Okay, so now it's on. All right, thank you very much. First of all, I just want to thank Carlos for, you're the real veteran here, so thank you for hosting such a diverse group of people. My name is Navrop Sende, founder CEO of The Digital Economist. Many of you also know the Africa Coalition, we're also the pioneers of that. So welcome to all of the community as well. So what we do is we're a think and do tank based in DC. We work on all things Web3, sustainability and governance, and build out knowledge pieces that are missing in the economy. So when we talk about risks of AI and emerging technologies, where is value being created, where is there risk emerging?
If you don't mind, please keep silent so we can... excuse me, if you don't mind to keep silent so the speakers can really speak. I hear a lot of noise, please. If you need to speak, maybe you go out or you go in the back, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll pause here. Hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Carlos. Dial Caribbean, I'm advising a number of organizations, but here I also very much honored to be as a board member of CLSQ. And I just want, for those of you who don't know, Carlos adds 1 speaker per year. So the rest of us are just sitting here the whole year waiting for a new person to arrive.
Thank you very much, Carlos. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for all your leadership that you do in IoT, cyber around the world. It's great to be here in Davos, and I'm a book author, as Carlos mentioned, but I'm also a strategic thinker on AI, how it relates to the national AI agenda, also the leading enterprises worldwide are leveraging some of our capabilities. I'm also an investor in a number of companies in the AI space, and also a columnist at Forbes discussing AI. So I wear many hats. I'm excited to learn about what we are going to do as a group regarding security and AI. It's a big topic, and I'm glad to discuss it, representing the United States. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Teresa.
Hi, I'm Teresa Hudson. I work at Microsoft. I don't think I need to explain what that is.
Especially now.
I'm Mark Hughes. I'm from DXC Technology. We provide solutions to protect our clients from all those threats out there. The ever-increasing vulnerability that we see through the complexity of the states means that we have to be really focused on making sure that we can reduce the time it takes to respond and resolve very quickly. And AI offers us both opportunities and threats. Looking forward to talking more about that later on, Carlos. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Hi, I'm Christina Dolan, and I am a cybersecurity executive, and I've been an executive at a number of different cybersecurity companies, in addition to an AI company before it was cool to be an AI company. Also an MIT alum, so we have some MIT connections here, but thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
I'm David Schreier, a professor.
Okay.
This one's better, they say. Aha! I'm David Schreier, professor of practice at Imperial College London, where I lead the Trusted AI Alliance, which is a global initiative of over 3,000 AI researchers trying to help build responsible and trustworthy AI at the country and global scale. And I also run a venture studio that has 28 portfolio companies in AI and deep tech.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Carlos, and thanks for having me again. I'm Alyssa Starzak. I'm head of public policy at Cloudflare. If you don't know us, we run a big global network. We protect against a lot of threats and have a lot of data that AI is very helpful for. So looking forward to the conversation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hossein Ranama. I'm professor of computer science at Toronto Metropolitan University and a visiting professor at MIT Media Lab. I also spun off an AI company called Flybits, just to reach 25 million active users. So thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Congrats. Thanks, Carlos, for having me. Peter Selfridge. I have just one job, unlike everyone else here. Government and Public Affairs for SAP, the small German startup.
Okay. Still.
So first, we lead a China delegation here with 20 people. So most of them they are in Davos, and I have been in Davos for 5th times. And with Carlos, we are very familiar. And I am the founder of a tech group, a pretty old blockchain company. We have 11 years experience in Web3 areas and 4 years experience in metaverse. And we are trying to combine AI with Web3 and metaverse. We've invented a new word called AWM. So this is a super metaverse because it is created by super intelligence. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So maybe before we start the debate, and as this roundtable is co-hosted by the Tech Accord, maybe Mark, do you want to explain what the Tech Accord is and give the audience some idea?
So the Tech Accord is a group of mainly Fortune 500 businesses who come together to look at, in the cyber context of recent cyber events and initiatives, to really come together to share information and to really help formulate and shape policy with policymakers around the world. So many different initiatives. We pick 3 or 4 themes every year that we really focus on. AI and the use of AI with cyber is clearly one of them, and how we can really take benefit from and also protect against where threat actors are now making use of AI. But there's a number of other initiatives. We've got one at the moment running where we're looking very closely at how we're going to deal better, more effectively with the law enforcement globally in terms of apprehending cyber criminals. So it's a fantastic group to be part of, not least of which it gives me the opportunity from DXC with our other members to be able to share information very rapidly against emerging threats, which is extremely useful.
Thank you very much. WISeKey is a proud member of the Tech Accord for many years, so we have been following the development worldwide. I just set up some questions, but we would like also obviously to be free to add whatever we want. But I'm going to start on the AI safety and ethics, as this is a very big subject here in Davos. Actually, you just need to walk around the street, and people that have been in Davos for many years will realize that before, a few years ago, we have e-commerce. Everybody was on e-commerce. Then everybody was on NFTs, and everybody was on crypto, and this year everybody's on AI. So it is amazing how Davos adapts to the technology evolution. on the fourth industrial revolution. I was in the UN for many years. I was the chief security officer of the UN, and obviously before we called that AI, we knew that this was reaching a point where ethics and the way we're going to treat AI is going to be a concern. It's both a risk as an assessment of the web, but it's also a big opportunity. So maybe Teresa, Microsoft, you are a major player on AI. What is your vision on that, on ethics and
well, I think it's you have to build it in. You need to think you need to think about.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Again, if you don't mind, not to speak inside the room. Carlos, please, if you don't mind to coordinate there. Yeah, please. Thank you very much.
I wish I could
Sorry,
do
Teresa.
You can do it? Yeah, it's okay. So as we're thinking about, I think any technology, it can be used. My boss wrote a book called Tools and Weapons, and I think that actually really does frame how we think about building technology. You have to really think about how you operationalize building in those checkpoints to say, are you, thinking through the impact on people? What are the unintended consequences? What can we learn from other technology that has been out in the world and has a good impact on people? Social media gives people a chance, for example, to participate in democracy, but it can also be used for harm, and we've seen the spread of mis and disinformation. So what can we learn from that? How do we operationalize that, both through principles, but then really through engineering process to say, pause and think about this. I think it needs to come from the leadership of the company, and luckily it does.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Teresa. So maybe staying a bit on the policy aspect, Mark, you are advising many governments, including the US government, on AI policy. What is your advice to them? What are you telling them to do and how to prevent eventually that AI becomes a future liability and a problem versus an opportunity?
I think President Biden hit it correctly. President Biden's act is an act that balances innovation. It balances the view that you need talent more than ever, globally and in the United States. At the same time, you need to put heavy guardrails on issues related to our national security, the issues related to our identity, to data leaks. And I think it is very important that you balance everything. You don't take a very heavy regulations view because you're going to stifle competition and you're going to stifle innovation. What we see in Europe is innovation, especially in AI, maybe uncomfortable for others to hear, but it has been depressed because heavy regulations. You have to know that the most important thing, I think, as my colleague mentioned from Microsoft, it's about values. It's about values that you put in AI models and systems. And if you develop it correctly the first time around, you structure it, you organize it correctly, you will have systems which will follow certain human-centric approach. And now we're not only in a human-centric approach, Carlos, we're in so-called planetary approach. This is what UNESCO calls, and this is why my book is about, because we have billions of IoT devices. We are using AI to solve the most complex challenges in the world, from healthcare to safety, to issues related to our climate. And we have to make sure that we put proper values and education, and we have diversified teams. So this is what I'm saying, not only in US, but across the world. Diversification, value creation, and balancing. Never stop innovation process, but we got to do it correctly.
Thank you very much. Fully agree. Maybe if we stay on the government and AI use, Peter, SAP, what is, I mean, you are as a private company versus being a United Nations organization or another. What is your approach when you talk to governments about the use AI? It is being a European company an asset or not? What is the trust companies require in order to be able to provide AI solutions to government? Maybe some of your insights on that, please.
Yeah, going back to GDPR, we turned that into an asset because being a European company, we were on the front lines as that was being developed. I know many of the companies here probably lobbied along with us to make that a little bit more favorable to business. But ultimately, being in Europe and having those regulations rolled out in Europe, we were ready. And so when the rest of the world started incorporating their own versions of GDPR, we were ready, our products were ready. We look at the AI Act in the same way. We actually applaud a lot of it, not all of it. Obviously, it's not finished. We haven't seen the text yet. But we think it will give some companies a leg up if the final version doesn't go too far in their two-tiered approach and overly prescriptive regulation on large foundation models. So I'm assuming a lot there, but if that goes in a similar direction as GDPR, we use it as an education tool. So sometimes being a European company amongst a sort of a heavy regulated market comes into our advantage.
Thank you very much. Again, I want to repeat again, if you don't mind, especially in the back room, if you don't mind to do not speak, please, because we hear you and you're supposed to hear us another way around. So that would be great. Thank you very much. So let's just stay there a bit on geopolitics and AI. We have China as a representative on this roundtable, and China is investing heavily on AI. First of all, how do you see the global cooperation of AI from the Chinese perspective? Yeah. And what is China doing in order to make AI inclusive versus being AI separated from the rest of the world?
Yeah, so I think it's, people also, usually we compare the AI with the nuclear. So we think the AI has a lot of potential and it's very dangerous, so we can compare it to nuclear weapons. So you know, between China and the US, we have a lot of talking about the nuclear weapons. And also I think about the AI too, because AI is far more potential and far more dangerous than the nuclear itself. So I think it's on this side, this is the one topic, China and the US, we can sit down and talk together. And another thing is that China has to ensure its national safety. So we have to, you know, the NVIDIA, we cannot buy the high quality cars. So we have to buy Huawei. And we have to invent our own system, our own license, our own whole ecosystem for the AI. So I think for some kind of it's good because it's a backup. You know, if we have something wrong in US, maybe China can be a backup. So, so this is something I can suggest. Also in China, we want to make the AI to be developed fast, but I think there will be several issues we should think about. How can we make the computing power, the computation, to be democracy? So it cannot be concentrated to a few companies. This will be a huge problem. The second is about the data's democracy. How can we protect the people's privacy, data privacy? This is also very important for the China government and also the China industry. And the third one is about the big LLM and all kinds of AI models. So we are creating a Web3 Hugging Face. So this will be provide the opportunity for more developers to develop their own project and use the distributed computation. This is very important.
Thank you very much. Let's stay on the countries. We also have Africa, right, which is the continent that we expect to be one of the leading continents in the future. Nabrook, what is your work in Africa on AI and how you are spreading the AI evangelization in Africa?
Great question, Carlos. By the way, just a disclaimer: I have an Indian passport, but I do think Africa is the next, superpower. Growth engine, if you may, after China and India, which is what the current engines are. In Africa, the work on AI is specifically talking about the cultural context, for example, of AI. That's a debate that's missing in the US. It's a debate that's missing in Europe. We talk about biases in gender, racial biases, so on and so forth. Actually, a lot of people don't know, but I think a lot of the models are being tagged by Kenyan nationals, and they actually don't have the ability to or the operational capacity to build their own models. So how do we kind of, have this kind of situation similar to where like the Indian engineers are building, components and large parts of American companies. So I think we're sort of starting to see that play out with sort of the, the African continent as well. But I think it's an opportunity to leapfrog, right? Yes. And China did that successfully for many technologies, years ahead of even US as well. And so the question is this finally the opportunity? And I just want to emphasize that it's not just AI, it's digital. It's broadly digital technologies that is providing the basis for all of this. But now you have, you can tap into the knowledge of the world with AI. I think that's a very powerful thing. I mean, I think just this room being full, it speaks volumes about that. The fact that we have you know, a demographic dividend that Nigeria is going to be kind of coming up with after India, which is the youngest population right now. So you will see I think the influence of the continent across the world as well, if it's done correctly. And that's up to Africans to do, really, with the help of the world.
Thank you very much. Maybe just continue there with Daniel. Daniel, you actually brought the web to China, right? When you used to work in the World Economic Area. Yeah, you help a lot, but I know that you help a lot in Dalian and Tianjin. So you have a lot of experience to enter into a new territory with technology. What is your views on entering into new territories with AI? What is the key things that you think need to happen in order Latin America or Africa or Middle East we get at the same time? Because otherwise we're going to create, I remember the digital divide, we can also create the AI divide, right? And we need to be careful about that. So what is your views on this?
I would like to actually go back to the book that Teresa has mentioned, Tools and Weapons, and I'm sure that at least Brad's idea all come from Geneva, where he studied, which is where we are based.
He was with us 2 years ago, actually. He was here.
You know, divide is one, but let me tell you just a very small story, and then I'll be very quiet. If you stay here in Davos till Saturday, you must know that the security here is provided by the Swiss federal government.
Yes.
If you stay here till Saturday, you actually will see soldiers coming down from the mountains, and they will meet their girlfriends here in the local bars, and there will be iconic scenes like Times Square kisses and all that stuff. But one thing you probably don't know is that Swiss Army loves us. And the reason why they love us is because they get to exercise once a year, and this is their full-fledged exercise. Swiss Air Force loves us too, because they get all the fuel they will need to fly all the jets, and once a year they get any budget request approved, just like that. You know who doesn't love us? Swiss Cyber Forces. They don't need us to exercise. They are exercising every day. And for AI is a complete game changer for them. It's like they just went from bow and arrow to gunpowder. And what did gunpowder do to Latin America and Africa and others? Colonization, redefining of boundaries, new dynasties. This is the game-changing moment for all, and it's happening much faster than anything we have seen before. It's happening at the rate that is faster than the Moore's Law, and AI is disrupting not only the governments, but also the boardrooms, right? Cloud, it disrupted CFOs. Other technologies disrupted COOs. But AI will disrupt the CEO. So I would take it very, very seriously, be it in the boardroom or any governmental building. Thanks, Carlos.
Thank you very much. Very good point. If we stay there, is that education a way of achieving that goal? Maybe we have two MIT professors here. Maybe starting with you, Hussein. What's your view with it? And what else you think we need to aggregate here?
I think classically, if you think about it, AI has always been taught in a computer science or an engineering department, at least until about 8-9 years ago. And what is changing now is that all schools, most post-secondary institutions around the world are looking at AI as an interdisciplinary phenomenon. So we now have programs that we are bringing students from design, business, engineering, fashion, performance to come together to really understand the philosophy and the principles of AI without really worrying them about, oh, you have to know statistical modeling and calculus before you can use AI. And I think that's important because, as Neil mentioned, I don't think AI will no longer be a CIO or a CDO mandate. It's a CEO mandate. It's a board mandate. Yeah. And now if you want to define OKRs, talent will be a #1 priority. How do we bring talent to our organization that can understand AI, biases, generalization, ambiguity, privacy, portability, explainability of data, but also can understand the implication of AI in healthcare, in retail, in finance, and we do not have any program in the world at the moment which is mature enough to be able to develop that talent at scale. So some of the work that we do at MIT and in Toronto is to create these AI super courses that are very interdisciplinary. And we build tools, no-code tools, easy-to-use tools, so that even that journalism student can actually use these tools to build capabilities for the future. And I think that's very well needed. And the last thing I say is, this is not just needed in post-secondary institutions, this is also very important in K-12. Kids should understand the precautions of sharing data. What does it mean? What does it share data to train a model? What does it do to my profile when I grow up? And that's basically what we also need to do in K-12 education.
Thank you very much. Lisa, maybe with you on cooperation on AI between both companies and government. Is that something that is happening? I mean, Core obviously is a good example, as we did on cybersecurity. But cybersecurity maybe is easier to cooperate than in AI. I don't know. It's maybe more well-defined what the cooperation should be. Maybe your views on that and what you are doing in your cooperation on it.
Sure. So, I think there's been a lot of collaboration around AI because I think a lot of companies recognize that these issues are interdisciplinary. They involve the industry, they involve government, they involve civil society. And so trying to figure out what to do and what the right parameters are is actually really important. I think that the Tech Accord, thinking about that on the cybersecurity side even, thinking about what goes into a model, how do you make sure that there's security both of the data going in, what happens inside the model, what the output is, all of those things are factors that have to be considered. So having conversations with governments about how to think about those, what is doable and what is not, what is sort of a rational act, I think is, rational sort of regulation look like. I think it's a very new space. And so unless you have industry involved, it's not going to work. And so you have to have those conversations because government is looking to regulate for good reason, but you want the regulation to be something that is good, actually does what it's supposed to do, puts controls in place, but also is something that allows AI to develop. So it's a balance.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Again, sorry, gentlemen, if you don't mind, speak outside, not inside. The room is very small and we have an echo, so if you don't mind. Thank you. Okay, so in that line, David, MIT, you also created your own company. You have been involved in this for so many years. Maybe we can go a bit more into the technology itself on AI, because we talk about policy, we talk about ethics, but what is actually the technology? Maybe, and also for the purpose of the audience, because some people don't necessarily are familiar what is behind AI. Maybe you can give us some insights on that.
Sure. So I'll talk about a few of the different technologies, and I encourage those of you who are trying to learn, you can pick up a copy of my book in the back corner. It's free. So we go through what the different technologies are. So expert systems have been around for a long time. Those are rules-based systems where you code in manually if-then. If I ask, is it daytime, the computer will check the time, then say yes or no. Some of the more exciting technologies start to introduce probability. And the one that's got everyone's attention in the last 18 months are large language models and transformers. And what those are doing are what we can think of as next word prediction. So if you walk down the street and you see someone you know and you say hi to them, what do you think they're going to say back to you? Hi. You just did next word prediction. That's what ChatGPT is doing. They have a giant database. They've poured every document they could find into it. And then they're saying, all right, if you have a sentence that begins, the most important thing about AI is its ability to, then it tries to predict what's the next word. Okay? And that's all it's doing. It's building sentences, words, paragraphs, etc. It's not just one technology, it's actually several technologies. There are a number of different AI systems working in concert. It's almost like an orchestra in order for ChatGPT to be able to talk to you and help solve problems. What's powerful about it is that it turns out that a lot of the things that we do at work can be done by a system that's a glorified version of next word prediction. So I spent my summer working with Evercore ISI, the investment bank, and we kind of broke down 800 million jobs into tasks and activities, what people do every day in those jobs. And then we mapped it against 6 AI technologies. And what we found is that about a third of work can effectively be replaced by AI that exists today. Not things that'll land tomorrow or 5 or 10 years from now, but today. The most vulnerable professions are economists and software engineers. Sorry, Navroop, I know you're a digital economist, and so the least vulnerable professions are ballet dancers. So while I don't suggest that we all become ballet dancers, I do suggest that, with no-code systems coming, as Hossein was referring to, and basically the ability for anyone here in this room to simply describe a problem to an AI and it will respond the answer, the solution, we need to lean in what we do best as humans. And then we can become better partners for those AIs. So creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, teamwork, these are all things that AI do poorly. If we partner, if we bring that to the AI, we can get the most out of these systems.
Thank you very much, David. Maybe apologies for being the last one, being a lady. Christina, you are an expert on ESG, and I know that the interrelation between sustainability, AI, cybersecurity, how you combine all that, how you equate all that.
So I have a little bit of a contrarian view with respect to AI, because I actually think that when you look at every industrial revolution, it's caused a tremendous amount of chaos for people in specific roles, but it's created huge amounts of opportunity. And if you look at this new industrial revolution, there's a lot of forces at play that are creating a lot of new opportunities. But one area that I'm specifically interested in is in healthcare, right? So UN sustainability goal is about what? Healthcare for everyone. Well, it just so happens that there aren't that many people who want to be doctors. So please tell me how you're going to have healthcare for everyone if nobody wants to be a doctor, right? But if you're able to get data and use a responsible data set and responsible AI to be able to generate tools to help maybe people who are not necessarily your chances of having great healthcare on a global basis are much greater. So I think that there are some great opportunities, and I hope that in trying to make AI safer, we don't sort of curtail its abilities and maybe look at what's the data that's being used, make sure that's responsible, understand the models, versus basically saying, well, let's just stop AI as a whole, because I think it can do a lot of great things. And as we've seen with every industrial revolution, it creates a lot of chaos, but those who understand it and look are going to create great opportunities.
Thank you very much. Maybe just a bit more in the technology itself, Mark, especially on the cybersecurity component of it, some ideas of it?
Yeah, so let's get down and really just talk about what's actually happening today. So the phishing emails. Who's received a badly worded phishing email recently? Still, a few of you. Oh, there's a few out there. WormGPT, we've probably heard about it. Phishing emails, almost that first line of defense of users, now receiving emails that looked rubbish. Sort of almost gone away. So we're already seeing threat actors using now the types of tools that are being talked about, the AI tools already, and that is really doing two things in the world of cyber. One is it's increasing the pace at which threat actors can do the stuff that they've always done. Social engineering is another good example. The use of deep fakes, my password is my voice. Those sorts of things are now becoming vulnerable in a way in which they were not vulnerable before the advent of some of the application of the AI tools that we see. Reverse engineering code as another good example. However, they are getting quicker, and so their pace is getting better at what they're able to do. The barrier to entry is also coming down. So the reality is today, AI is already being used out there by threat actors effectively. The good news is that what it actually means for organizations is that they have to reassess, and if they reassess well what they are doing, it's not just about doing the same things that they have been doing faster. It's about re-examining what really is the approach that they take to cybersecurity. I'm actually quite optimistic because I think that creates a change in the thinking. And of course, when you get beyond the thinking, and at DXC we have a number of tools that we put in place to help customers really assess that, to deal with that, to keep them one step ahead. What that then does, it then takes you into a position where you can then actually apply AI defensively. Because, of course, that advantage exists for us defensively as much as it exists for the attackers. So to give you an example, and I'll quote Teresa, we're using, we're only one of 6 organizations using Microsoft Copilot for security. That is reducing some of our productivity times by about 80% plus. First line, second line, the traditional model of going around and doing security is now munging into one. So that distinction has disappeared almost overnight. So it's really exciting. The use of natural language questions, which we talked about before, means that you don't have to do complicated code strings to be able to identify and then get to that key point of being able to remediate quickly. So I think there's good and bad news, but overall I'm encouraged. But right down at the coalface, if you want, of what's actually going on, Carlos, AI is there, it's being used against us by threat actors, and it's causing us right now to have to change our thinking quite dramatically and implement AI tools defensively.
Thank you very much. Maybe we can move a bit on the protection of the individual. As you know, WISeKey for 25 years, this is actually our 25th anniversary. When I was in the UN, and after being in the UN, my focus has been protecting individuals by providing digital identities that they control themselves. This is becoming, in some countries, major projects. Also, the United Nations is moving into that, to the point that digital identity might become a human right in the future, because everything is going to be around your digital identity, including what are you willing or not to share with AI algorithm. But what are other fundamental rights, Teresa, that you think we need to aggregate to all this?
Well, I mean, what are the other fundamental rights we need to aggregate in thinking about AI development? Well, all of them. So, I think it starts actually with connectivity, which is kind of where you were saying, this isn't just an AI divide, it's a digital divide. We need to, and this is digital, so we need to start thinking about who is even connected, because then, one, they can't take advantage of it, but the models aren't taking them into account as they're deciding what the next word is in the example earlier. But also, as we're building, there can be really, really, really amazing use cases for these technologies. Voice is a really interesting one. We can use custom neural voice so that people who have ALS can keep their voices once they've lost them to disease. But there are lots and lots of bad uses of somebody with voice. And so I think this is a place, again, where it comes back to what you said about values. The company who builds the technology needs to build it in a values-based way, and to have that values-based work aware of the fact that technology can be used for harm. So another very common example is facial recognition technology being used against minority populations in policing. The extent to which we use AI for predictive decision making, I think, is probably not wise without humans in the loop or intervening. And of course, everyone is worried about mis and disinformation, deepfakes, and participation in democracy, especially in this year that is the biggest election year in the history of the world. Yes. And so all of that, it's sort of like you have to be able to hold all of those many, many things in your mind as you're developing, and have enough steps in your process that you're thinking through that, and that you're seeking input from communities who will be impacted by the technology to help build it in ways that respect people's fundamental rights.
Thank you very much. And maybe staying there, the European Union just a few weeks ago decided in issues related to the regulations related to AI. You being a European company, is that an obstacle for AI growth for European companies to have that type of regulation? Are we doing the same thing Chinese are doing, or regulating AI? Is that maybe the future of everybody moving into regulation? Or maybe your views as a SAP. Excuse me, gentlemen, once again, if you don't mind to do not, thank you, please. Well, this is like an AI algorithm. I have to repeat the thing every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. First, the final text of the AI Act isn't yet out, so it's hard to tell how it will impact, and the implementation is several years out too. And one of the greatest fears is by the time it's implemented, what's it regulating? So there's a lot of unknowns, even though a lot of the texts and the negotiations from the trilogue are sort of well known. I think as Alyssa stated, regulation is coming, and I think it's important for all of us here to get involved in sort of educating those regulators and the lawmakers, the policymakers. I think there's a huge gap. Technology always grows faster than sort of policy making and lawmaking. That gap is growing, and next year when we're all sitting here talking about quantum, That's
Yes.
just going to go straight up. So, I think industry and society needs to get more involved. This has been said already by a number of panelists. It's an all-in thing. Industry needs to talk to academia, needs to talk to policymakers, and it needs to go around in a circle if we're going to have smart regulation so that the technology can build trust and take off.
By the way, maybe a point on quantum. Is quantum going to accelerate AI to AGI? Is that something that you see happen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. There's guys who
Maybe
are smarter than me.
any other reaction to that? Yeah.
So I was riding on the funicular with Steve Suarez, who used to be with HSBC, and he said quantum will give us faster garbage.
Yeah.
So, but think about it. I mean, it's garbage in, garbage out. So if we don't understand the principles that Hossein is trying to instill through his AI super courses, we give bad instructions to these things, they're going to give us mindless reams of garbage. Yeah. The clutter that clouds our inbox is going to get worse. So quantum can be very exciting and solve a lot of problems. It also could create a mass headache for you.
Totally. Actually, one of the applications we see happening in quantum, which is applied to CLSQ, is post-quantum capabilities at the microchip level. So we are programming the chips to be able to defend a quantum attack without even knowing what that quantum attack will be. So it's very theoretically, but we are working on that. And I think this is maybe something very concrete. Any other reaction on the quantum aspect?
I think, as David mentioned, I think at the moment the thinking around generative AI is that we add more parameters and then we are going to have better GPUs and TPUs and then quantum. I am generally optimistic about where AI is going, but what makes me really worried is that very few people talk about the data around this AI.
Yeah.
Some of this data belongs to us, some of it belongs to corporations, some of it are public. If we really don't understand the data ecology and the contracts and the privacy of this data, yes, we can compute faster, but can I actually be comfortable about building a GPT-like interface to talk to the metadata of my personal photos and say, show me a day that I was very happy walking in nature with my mom? AI can do that from a technology point of view. How many of you trust foundational closed models with that data?
Yeah.
Very few of you. You should not trust that. What company trusts, building predictive services saying, hey, show me where I'm going to run out of money? You're not going to expose that. But would you want to have that on an encrypted chipset that you can only access it through a token? That is where truly quantum and that will come together to show the next generation of AI.
Very good. And maybe back to China is the fact that maybe I'm wrong. The accessibility of data is easier in China will accelerate AI from your point of view towards other countries, or you will have the same problems that we have.
I think China is we have some different culture from the Western world. Sure. So we respect the elders. We respect the authorities. So we put some, the how to say that? So it's some kind of the filter for the data coming and data comes out. So this is what China we mostly focus on. We do not want AI to speak anything which will make a government unhappy. So this is the China. I think it's special for China. And another thing is that in China we also share the same problem for rest of the world. So like we have invented clone technology. We can clone real human, not before. But no country allow you to clone the real human. So I think it's something we can share with all the world. So there is should be some forbidden area for AI not to touch. So I'm very curious why the military AI usage will be permitted by OpenAI. For such a company, why it should support the military usage? This is the same to the nuclear war, Yes. So if the AI says, China's government says, okay, then we start to develop military AI. So you will see. So what will happen? So I think for all the people in Davos, we should make a red line for AI.
Yeah.
Some area, do not touch it. Just like clone real human. That's my point.
That's a very good advice, especially coming from China. I think this is something that everybody should pay attention to it. But how you do it? Is that a proliferation treaty like we have in nuclear weapons? Is the way to do it? How you do it?
China, we have a lot of government officials.
Yeah.
They will do in a lot of details. So they make a lot of regulations, and we have real resources to execute it.
Yeah.
So if you want to do commercial AI in China, like you need to get a license. That commercial license is without that you are
Yes.
illegal. You cannot provide that.
Okay.
But maybe this will have some problem for the China's AI development. But I think it's in specific area like medicine, you don't want to an illegal doctor to serve you. You know that.
Maybe we can discuss on the technical point of view this comment of AGI. Are we really on a AGI, or this is a bluff? Any comments for any of you on AGI, artificial general intelligence, when one AI can create another AI? Anyone to take it? Yeah, Mark. Maybe we can have different opinions on that.
A couple of comments before I answer the AGI. I think in 2024, which we're in, doesn't this microphone needs AGI. By the way. We are experiencing now the age of algorithmic economy, and we're experiencing in 2024 active use of artificial intelligence agents in every part of our work and every part of our life. Some of them are sophisticated, some of them are predictive in terms of amount of data that they have gathered. But in this type of economy globally, and also, by the way, we're in a very fragmented world. You could see huge cultivation of countries around the world that are gathering in terms of this BRICS momentum. It's been discussed here as well. So with this in mind, there's a whole new approach saying, okay, can we leverage some of the sophisticated cognitive agents that are being used in everyday life, for example, travel experiences, hospitals, dealing with cancer patients? Can we develop some sort of an AGI? I think personally we're years away, and generative AI is not AGI. It is not AGI. Many people mention, okay, it's predictive, it's predicting the next word, the next sentence, but it doesn't have reasoning and it doesn't have logic. You need to combine deep neural networks and generative AI to be able to do this. So I think we're not there yet, but we're in the age of absolutely impressive cognitive agents this time. It's beyond Alexa. It's beyond Siri. We're going to see something that every part of our life, every part of our work, and this is why the direction was going into autonomous enterprises. If we're entering the age of autonomous enterprises, we're going to have intelligence built in many of those companies. So I think there is process, there is progress in some of those things. It's not full AGI, but we got to be careful. If we're moving in a direction where companies are going to be autonomous, what is the role of everybody in those companies? So it's an interesting world right now, world moving into this whole age of cognitive agents, and we just have to be mindful that we have some way to protect ourselves, because every part of our life and aspect is being basically implemented by those cognitive agents.
Thank you very much, Mark. Any other comments on that? If not, we're going to open the. Sorry, you wanted to say something? Yeah, please. You too. Sorry, I didn't say you.
I just wanted to quickly add. I mean, it's fascinating. I think sort of the futuristic type of future casting, but as an economist who doesn't spend most of our time doing predictions, I think the reason why we're seeing so much industry focus on AI right now, it's because of the economic value it's going to add to the global economy. Sure. It's really as simple. I mean, the model of OpenAI, ChatGPT is a good old subscription. So there's nothing groundbreaking happening there. So I think it's also just important to remember, like here, of course, we have visionaries and thinkers, but the sort of capital that you're seeing moving in is the economic utility that it provides, the fact that this technology is going to transform the global economy and how we do work, the future of work, the future of business, how we relate, productivity, all of those things, first and foremost, because that's the first thing big corporations are dealing with. And I think some of the sort of the more fantastical use cases, come after the fact. So I just want to kind of, perhaps ground that a little bit. So 2 cents there.
Thank you very much. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, so I think it's a very fundamental thing we can think about is how we should make the difference between the AGI and the real human. Start from here. So it's as early we can put some kind of the recognition. We know the OpenAI, they have issued the vote coin. So they use iris to recognize the real human. But I think we need more, like I know the WISeKey, you are developing a lot of DID system. Yeah. For the DID, right now, the most important thing is want to record all the behavior of a real human and anonymous. Yeah. So I think it's very important to differentiate the AGI from the real people as early as possible. So in the future, we can create a real human society, not full of all kinds of AI bot.
Yeah, actually, there's a test in ChatGPT. If you go to ChatGPT and you say, "Do you know who I am?" They will ask you all kind of things without telling you who you are, which actually goes back to the internet. You know, there was this dog in a computer saying, in the other side, the internet doesn't know you're a dog. So we are still unable to identify a dog and a human. And if you ask the same question about any other AI algorithm, you will see the same answer. The AI doesn't know yet what a human is, so which is scary. Any other? So we have some questions from the audience. So you have a microphone there, please. If you don't mind to introduce yourself, that will be great.
Thank you to this distinguished panel. My name is Jamar Montgomery. Hello, Teresa. AI weapons are already here. Let's be honest. We have already been utilizing algorithms for our weapon systems, and to think that AI is not being utilized in warfare does us all a disservice. So if we're going to have AI being utilized for good, my question is to industry, it has to start with children. If we are not educating our children on AI, then the most usage that we're going to get from AI is through warfare. Why does OpenAI have partnerships with the United States government? Because the United States government and the United States military has the largest budget, profit-making enterprises. So my question to industry is, how are you going to make sure that our children are properly educated so that they can be the new creators of AI and the new tools that we're going to use for society?
Can't go off TikTok for all the children. That's as simple as that.
They are just there, you know.
So I think it actually goes back to this multidisciplinary approach in some ways, which is we actually need the humanities in the development of the technology to keep, ethics front and center, history, literature, philosophy, maybe religion, I don't know. But I think we need to, I think there's a real value in bringing humanities into the development of technology, and we actually kind of do educate our kids on that. I have 15 and 17-year-old daughters, so we spend a lot of time talking about that. I do think we need to think about, computer science or whatever the next version of technology education for sure. But my sense is you're not going to need as much of that in the future. I'm not sure if I'm right. I should turn to one of the professors who thinks about education.
No, I'm not a professor. I'll give it to the real experts, but I'll just say real quick. I think it goes back to an all-in approach, and a little bit of what you said, and probably what he's going to say. But keep in mind, we have and I'm sure every corporate here has the same thing. We have a CSR program. We have education programs. Even at our highest scale, we educate maybe a million people worldwide over a year or 2 year period, something like that. There are something like 5 billion children in the world. So we're a drop in the ocean. And if you add the 10 million that Microsoft does, we're still just a drop in the ocean. So it's got to be an all-in approach. But I'm interested to hear the question to Jose.
Yeah, I mentioned some of it, but I think AI education and data education and STEM education in K-12, from K all the way to 12, the North American system, and equivalent in Europe, I think is really important. I think the physics of data and AI is as such that it will completely gray out disciplines and how we know industries. If you look at industries, you have the finance sector, you have the insurance sector, you have the healthcare sector. Data is as such that all of these are going to come together. Do not be surprised if in 5 years you're going to see an athletic wear company that is also in the insurance space, because they can give you dynamic policies. Now, if you think about a university or a school structure, architecturally they are terrible. They are full of walls. They're like, oh, you want to be in humanities? You want to take a math course? You want to take a music course? You go to that room and you go to that room. I think if we want to bring that education to kids, this is what it means to your data, this is how you should share data, this is how trains are being modeled. An example of that is a project that came out of MIT called Scratch, that kids are now very interested to learn coding without really thinking about how compilers work or how, you know, JVMs work. We should do the same thing for AI, but we should not just think about the curriculum, we should think about architecture, we should think about productivity, interconnection of students to the workforce from kindergarten all the way to post-secondary education. And that may address some of the correct observations that you shared with us. Sorry.
I do want to add to it because I think that brings up the point on the other side too. I think there's a reality of what the next generation will look like. I think AI will get incorporated into their education from the beginning, and they'll have to learn how to deal with it in a lot of different ways. So I think practically making sure that we have education systems that know that they can't ignore AI, they can't ban AI, they actually have to figure out how they make sure kids know how to work with it in a lot of different disciplines. That's the other side of that same equation. So it's not just making sure that they learn some of the underlying technology, but that they understand what it then means for whatever discipline they might be in, what they can do with it, what they can't. And you can give really practical examples, right? Somebody going into the workforce for the first time tries to write an email through ChatGPT and doesn't look at it, might lose their job when they write an email that isn't actually what is appropriate, right? So trying to make sure that's a component of education on both sides of that, I think, is important.
I'm just going to say very quickly, let's not forget, David said it, it's the data itself in the models that is, no one really talks about it that much. Is there an application perhaps for blockchain to actually be much more about a real use case of blockchain, about actually looking at the veracity of data, and do we know what's in those models and how can we track it and create that almost, maybe that is a ready-made use case for blockchain that we haven't really thought about yet. I think we've got to think a lot more about the data and how we manage the data. As David said, rubbish in, rubbish out. We've seen that for many years. And the bias as well in that we've talked a bit about today. You know, let's not forget machine learning. There's been bias around for years. Think about mortgage applications and stuff. You know, we've seen that. So we can draw on some of the experience we have. But let's not forget the data is absolutely key. And how do we really make sure that we focus our attention on getting the right data in and ensuring that it's not manipulated for nefarious purposes?
Just very quickly on that point, I think in terms of education, our education in the United States is very generic. It is not focused on individual students. And with AI, you now have a chance to actually individualize, hyper-personalized education. So I think we need to focus education on individuals, individual lessons, not generic. Pretty much most of the, at least K to 12th grade, generic education, it doesn't do people any good. They're not going to be competitive in this digital AI age. We have to hyper-personalize to every student to understand their vulnerabilities, their abilities, their capabilities, and this is our future. If we do this, we have great success with AI, and capabilities are only going to grow over the years.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I think maybe our kids or future generation will don't even call it AI anymore because we'll be totally integrated in everything they do. So I would like to, before we close this panel, by the way, I would like to thank the panelists. Amazing discussion. We could stay here for hours. We have two other panels that will start in a few minutes. We have a token of appreciation before you leave, which is going to be introduced to you by David Ferguson. David.
Thank you, Carlos. You know, I've enjoyed the opportunity this week to host several sessions with CNBC on what subject do you think most likely? AI, exactly. And there was a common thread running through all of those conversations. Of course, we talked about education, reskilling, upskilling. We talked about the future of work. We certainly talked a tremendous amount about the applications across all industry sectors. We had a fascinating dialogue earlier this morning on the applications for climate change and sustainability management. But the common thread for me throughout all of that, and which was certainly reinforced here, is the power of collaboration and the need for collaboration. The ease with which we do it, I think, is still to be defined. But most importantly, this is what I'm hearing from all of you. I'm very honored, and Wang Wei, will you come and join me?
Okay, sure.
I'd like to introduce to you a very special guest. I'm an investment banker by day, And Wang Wei and I have had the opportunity of collaborating together between the United States, China, and across Asia for almost 20 years now. 5 years ago, Wang Wei arrived here at Davos. I should probably note as well that Wang Wei is considered the father of modern M&A in China. So Wang Wei brought the Western style of mergers and acquisitions and foreign direct investment to the country and has been a tremendous philanthropic leader throughout all of that time. Together with WISeKey, we have been thinking about how can we possibly recognize and, of course, selfishly encourage more innovation from those of you who have already proven a desire, a willingness, and capability of having an impact. And so we have created the Davos Innovation Award. This will be the inaugural presentation of this award, and we'd like to begin by presenting this award to each of you this evening for being here. Andreas? Yes, please, that would be tremendous.
I just few seconds. You can find the medal on the back with some Chinese characters. So you can interpret it in any way you feel good. So like an entrepreneur or fortune, whatever. So that's just a good sign for all of you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for all you've done and all you're yet to do.
Thank you, everybody. Just a big hands to the panel, please. I think they did a great job, and it's a great panel. And you have that now in the collection to remember that important day on where we all agree that we have to work together toward AI and help the future generation. Thank you very much for your attention. It's always a pleasure to have you here, and hope to see you again next year. Thank you very much. And thank you for the audience. Very interactive audience. It's impossible to keep you talking.
Carlos, thank you very much. It's really good to see you.
basically exploring the capabilities of using the space to interconnect objects on Earth in a secure manner using the latest technologies such as IoT, encryption, digital identity. So we have a very prestigious panel, which is already in the round table, which I'm just going to get my notes right with. So I also recommend the people on the back room, because it's a space here, to come into this room, and that will allow us to have less interaction in the background. So, sorry, it's moving too good. So the panel is constituted by experts from both industry, governance, and space technology. So we have, maybe the best thing and the fastest thing is I let the group to introduce themselves, and then we start the panel with the questions. So I give the floor to the panelists. By the way, thank you very much for joining us, and it's a pleasure to have you with us. Please, Ashok.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Carlos, for inviting me. I'm Ashok Ranadive. I'm CEO of Carbon Minus, a climate tech startup. Prior to that, I was with the Indian Navy for 20 years. I retired as a commander by education and nuclear engineer. Thereafter, I worked for Google for 12 years, and then for a blockchain startup for 4 years. For the past 1 year, I'm fully focusing on my own startup. Happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Andrew Forson. I'm the head of growth of the Hashgraph Association, which is the commercialization arm and private enterprise arm of the Hedera distributed ledger. By way of experience, I come from Deloitte & Touche, from a consulting background, and have been associated in the trust and estate practitioner field. I have also started and exited several financial risk management, financial engineering entities, and I look forward to hearing from my distinguished colleagues about this field, and look forward to fielding any questions people may have about distributed ledger technologies.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Eric Gu here. Summer Tiger Fund. For the past 10 years, being into crypto industry, as a researcher, entrepreneur, and investor. Currently running a hedge fund, crypto hedge fund, called Summer Tiger Fund. Yeah, that's me. Thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you, pleasure.
Thank you for having me. My name is Yann Donon. I'm Director of Telecommunication and Intelligence in RUAG. And we are the technology partner of the Swiss security network, so army, police, etc. And my background is more from academia, and that's it.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening. I'm Grégoire Bourbon. I'm heading the Space Exchange Switzerland. It's a national platform in Switzerland founded by the Swiss government to do promotion of space activities to our industrials, but also to do the link with the European Space Agency. My background is more in space technology, as an engineer there, and I managed also a national program over the past 10 years in space technology development that we had in Switzerland.
Thank you very much.
Okay, first, thanks, Carlo, thanks, WISeKey, for the invitation for this panel. My name is Bernardino Copano from Spain. I'm a CEO of faithful water company called Bernardino Abad. And our company have more than 130 years. I don't look bad, but it's how it is.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Carlos. I am Ignacio Moldes, representing Avant IoT. We are an European company specializing in the development of IoT solutions, hardware and software, around logistics. And in the last years, we're working hard to sensorize containers, terrestrial and satellite in both ways. Okay.
Thank you very much.
I'm Philippe Monnier. I have different activities in business, in organizing events, and in media. And I'm also serve WISeKey in the board.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Carlos, for organizing this exciting event.
I'm Murat Seyit-Nepesov. I'm the chairman of Integral Group and the Caspian Week Forum and the president of the Greater Caspian Association. And my background, the previous life was the theoretical physics. Then I was a banker, and since the last 25 years, I am an entrepreneur. Commodity trading, logistics, digital projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So maybe for the audience, and again, I wish everybody, if they could, please be quiet, because it's very difficult to run the panel with a background noise. If you wish to talk, you are invited to talk outside, but not inside. I have been saying that many times this evening. I really request your cooperation. Don't close the door. Don't close the door, otherwise it's even worse. Carlos, leave the door open. The door open, but please invite the audience in the back to come in front. And if they wish to talk, they can go outside. Okay? I think, sorry to be strong on that, because otherwise it's impossible to run the panel. So, but first of all, I would like to describe the problem we are trying to solve, because we have here a very large group of experts from different areas, such as space technology, blockchain, tokenization, containers, IoT. It sounds like a very distinct expertise, but they make sense when we put them together, including the carbon offsetting part. So the challenge is that we are connecting trillions of devices to the internet. So devices that they can compromise security. Imagine you connecting your thermostat at home or your cameras, and this camera being used for hackers to hack to your house, which is actually happening on a daily basis, or hacking an airport, or hacking a plane, or hacking an infrastructure, hospital, and so on, government offices. So the Internet of Things, which is the subject here, is a very, very big issue that requires very prompt attention. In the previous roundtable, we have talked about AI. AI can become a major partner for us, because AI will teach us how to defend that critical infrastructure, but we need to act fast. So I would like to just ask the panel from your different angles, how do you see your expertise and technology, for instance, like blockchain or space exploration, space picosatellite and others, to solve that specific infrastructural issue that we need to solve? So maybe I start with you, because you are an expert on blockchain and tokenization technology, and this is, I believe, is one of the part of the solution. Again, I recall the audience to stay quiet, if you don't mind. Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe if we're lucky and the things we say are sufficiently interesting, silence will ensue. What I would say from the perspective of blockchain, it's unfortunate that crypto tokens almost came first, because people, especially governments and financial institutions, tend to always think of the speculative aspect of the technology. But the reality is, with distributed ledgers and blockchain, and in our case, the Hedera hash graph, we do two things. We decentralize data access points, which means the point of failure is effectively distributed. There's not a single ISP that can take down a distributed ledger network. The second thing we do is we actually validate the provenance of data, something that WISeKey does incredibly efficiently. They're very effective at commercializing this on a number of areas, ranging from art to logistics. But the fact that cryptocurrency and digital currency exists is actually proof positive of the importance and efficacy of distributed ledgers in protecting data. And that's going to feature more and more prominently, particularly whenever we have equipment, like what you're doing with CLSQ, speaking between each other. So I'll leave it at that.
Perfect. Fully agree. Blockchain expert as well, although...
Just wanted, I can't stop adding, because we worked, if you remember in my previous job, when I worked for Casper Labs, we worked very closely with WISeSat to develop a prototype where the data security of the communications with satellite was ensured. That's something that we demoed in London during the Financial Times conference that we had. Just remember that. So yeah, blockchain does have a role to play here.
Thank you very much.
I think there's one particular technology has been represented here. It's called public key encryption. I think which you guys do very well, right? Including blockchain technology and IoT, maybe AI. This is a very important piece of technology, right? To me, crypto industry or say blockchain industry are running. It's like you're driving a car without a seatbelt or airbag, right? You need to have like IoT technology also. You need to have public key encryption technology, or say you need to have let's say digital identity, and not enough. It needs to be self-sovereign digital identity. So every individual, every piece of devices on IoT needs to have this identity, right? So I just leave it to that. I guess you guys are all the experts. I'm just thinking this is underrepresented.
No, I fully agree. I think so far we cover what I call the underground technology, blockchain, PKI, public infrastructure, cryptography, root keys, being able to distribute keys, being able to store the keys in ledgers. That's essential. It's totally disorganized for the time being, but it could be, IoT could be the driver, the business model that will organize this infrastructure. Go ahead, please.
So, talking really from the defense point of view, we are the end user, especially of IoT. Our focus there, it's resilience, and that's what we need from space technologies, as well than cost efficiency, but we can get back to that later. But resilience of the system, whether it's a constellation of low Earth orbit satellites, or whether we talk about blockchain, is key, and it's strategic, and it's really what I'm going to focus on and look at first.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I will take you to the space lab because it's my background. So thank you for the transition there. Well, I think IoT from space is a great example that we had over the past few years. Of new space, what new space brought to the domain, and coming from the technology push, so miniaturization, using of commercial off-the-shelf components, the low price in launchers, for example, made possible to think about these kind of businesses. Before it was not really possible to think about this. And so that brought us to this constellation of small satellites that you're also developing. And I think the topic of security there came maybe later, and it's a big topic now, because at the beginning we had the feeling, it's space, it's far away, and we have to secure already what is on Earth. And now more and more we see it's an important topic in every communications that we will have. So it's an infrastructure, it's a space infrastructure, but of course all what is about cybersecurity is of high importance, and we see that especially in Switzerland, having companies dealing in this domain.
But how can we federate that ecosystem? Because we launched 17 satellites, Pico satellites. There are other companies in Switzerland doing the same, but we are not compatible yet. Don't you think it will make sense to create a mesh where all these satellites can be used for? Because there's no point for everybody sending its own satellites. I mean, at a certain point, you have to create some kind of interoperability, right?
Yeah, I think so too, and not only in between the providers of Internet of Things technology, but we can also imagine also with the big providers of telecommunications that come. In general, I think in the future we'll speak more about multi-orbit, being in GEO, being in LEO for different purposes, and definitely it makes sense to aggregate that. And well, it was normal as a new business, especially for space application, that you have several companies developing or trying to develop their own asset, but we see that the need of consolidation of the market is important. Yeah.
Bernardino, you are the user of the technology because you move containers and you are putting technology that allows the satellite to talk to the container. What are the really benefits you see from that in your day-to-day operations?
Okay, I'm going to say in 3 ways. One is improving control of the merchandise. I think it's the most. Right now, all the control is in the truck, is in the lorry, is in the vessel, but it's not in the merchandise. Yeah. So it's it's the best way to have a real control of the merchandise. The other way could be the transit time. You know when the containers going to be empty or full, and you can reuse that container. So at the same time, this go with the sustainability also, because you just move the container one time. You don't have to move several times. About talking about the cybersecurity, for us is the most important. Right now we move like a custom agent and a freight forwarder, and we move a lot of original documents in papers. And when we lose one of those papers, we lose the control of the cargo also. So if we can put both things together, control of the merchandise plus cybersecurity in the documents, could be the best way to move the cargo.
And it's very expensive to keep the container in the port, so if you can move that faster, you make economies, right? So
Yeah,
it
of
is an
course.
economic benefit.
But not only how much it costs, it's the carbon footprint. Each time that you move one container is 1% plus for carbon. So for us, it will be better if we know that container is empty, can go to another place to load, and you don't have to make different movement inside the port. I'm not going to talk about money. I'm going to talk the best for the future.
For sure. Ignacio, maybe we can deep dive on the technology that allows those containers to talk to the satellite. What is it? And give a sense of how companies can use this technology for their own use.
Okay, we're giving information. These companies, the operators or shipping companies, about what is happening to the container itself as a box. So we can have information about impacts, inclinations, or even hazardous driving. You can have lots of information about the box. We can offer them and also these companies to the final customers information about what is happening with the goods, the merchandise inside that box that the container is. So we can manage temperature, humidity. We can know if the door has been opened. We also have smart seals that are not very often used right now. So these seals also talk with our devices. We can have information about the air quality and also about gases individually or mixed. With that range of things that you can sensorize inside, you can know many things that could happen about physical damages in the container or the goods inside, and also perhaps with vegetables or fruit, you can have information with some gases. You know what is happening with the goods. So we can give predictive information to the companies that are using these containers, and also to the final customers that they have to offer valuable information for them to go in advance of the decisions that they have to take to avoid breaking the supply chain at the end. It's really interesting. We were always thinking at the beginning that the operators were many times very worried about the insurance. That is also something that also improves with this information. But they weren't so worried about if they have to pay for things. The final customer is worried about having the good in the place that it has to be, in the date that they have to be, because the customer that is continue buying is the one. It's not us that are part of the supply chain. Finally, the supply chain happens because you want to put a good in a place. So you have information to be in advance to that bad moment for the customer.
Thank you very much. Philippe, what is this requires partnerships, right? I mean, you cannot drive that alone. How do you encourage partnership in this industry, and how you can relate also with governments? Because this like PPP model applies very well to this industry.
Because I think that in such a field, regulation and the law are very important. And then in most countries, the law and regulation do not happen very quickly. So I think it is important at every step to have a dialogue with the member of the government, the politicians. And if I take the example of Switzerland, there are at least 5 steps. The first one, the cabinet minister will take a fundamental draft decision, and they can be influenced. Second, they will ask the administration to write a paper which will have 100-200 pages. Still possible to connect with the administration, to influence, to give the opinion of the private sector. Then they will send the paper to maybe 200-300 organizations. Again, a third possibility to influence. Then they will send a new paper to the parliament, it's called in German Botschaft. Normally it has 500 pages. Then the parliament, there are two chambers, they will decide, they will discuss, and it will take 2-3 years. Again, it's possible to express one's opinion directly to the press. And then the parliament decide, and administration implement, but by implementing, there are a lot of decisions to be taken when you implement. And again, the new opportunity to express one opinion. On a forum like this one, like the WEF, is a perfect forum to have discussion between the private sector, the public sector, at the international level, which is even better.
Thank you, Philippe. Murad, you are the end user, as you have boats and you carry containers in the Caspian region and beyond. What is your experience with this technology, and how do you foresee in the future the expansion of this? I mean, are others, a transporter company, logistic, going to apply for it? Do you see that to be mainstream?
I will tell you a small story how this container exercise started. Several years ago, we started our container business, a company called Caspian Container Company. And the idea was to connect the greater Caspian region, and particularly the Central Asia, with a big world via container transportation. Then we tried to talk with the majors, starting from Maersk and through World Economic Forum Network. And what they told me, listen, it's very good, but for us, your region, especially Central Asia, is a black hole. We are sending the containers, then they're just disappearing. Sometimes disappearing forever, sometimes coming back like in 6 months after, completely from the different location. And, and we feel it's not sustainable, we cannot really push this, we cannot really develop your region. Okay, and the region traditionally is working on bulk shipments in the Soviet Union time. And then the idea was, okay, how to connect live the containers with a database, with the server, and how we can get live information, what is happening with the containers. Then we tried with the GSM network, analog network, mobile network, but unfortunately, or fortunately in this case, in our region there is not enough coverage. And then, like 18 months ago, I was just for some other reasons in the Carlos' office in Geneva, and he showed me, we are now launching the satellites, 35 satellites, mini or micro satellites. And then I was saying, okay, I think there's a good application for this technology to connect the containers in the greater Caspian region, which is landlocked, 10 million square kilometers, deserts, rivers, roads, bridges, and so on. And through satellite, we have a universal solution. And we started to develop this. In a very short time, I was really surprised. Carlos managed to create a consortium of companies, and many of them are present here. And now we are moving this project ahead. And in November, there was a Global Freight Summit of DP World and our Caspian Week jointly in Dubai. And then Carlos was there. And now DP World looks like ready to join the exercise. The memorandum was signed for strategic cooperation. And DP World, who doesn't know, is the biggest in the world port and terminal operator for containers.
They have a huge booth just next door.
Just next door, yes. So they build from scratch the whole building. Don't ask me the budget for this, but yeah. Very impressive. And I believe that now we can invite also governments, the countries of the region, because at the end it should be PPP, public-private partnership. What is bringing to the table? Is bringing full transparency and traceability of the containers. Now we can know, first of all, where is container, but what is more important, where is the cargo which is in the container. And that's easier to finance, easier to insure, easier to transport. Then we have a database, a data for optimization. We can do our optimization exercises. We are doing this historically for many years for the ships, for the vessels, which you can trace. But now we are trying to trace also to trace and optimize the container movements. And I am just saying this is a very successful example how from idea we can do and bring the really working solution, and we can connect this region with the world, and we are not only facilitating trade, we are enabling trade, because without this traceability nobody trusting, and that's why no trade could happen. This great success, and thank you for this cooperation, Carlos, on this.
Thank you very much. And actually, I believe next year is going to be a huge opportunity year because Azerbaijan is hosting the COP 29. And this technology reduces carbon launched to the atmosphere, right? The containers and the maritime industry is one of the largest polluter in terms of pollution. It is an industry which is not sustainable whatsoever. And whatever we do in trying to reduce the footprint, the carbon footprint, it's actually a great practical example to show in the Caspian region because this is going to be Azerbaijan, right? So we should be, we encourage the partnership to anybody that wants to aggregate to this and demonstrate in Baku in the next COP 29.
I believe we need to highlight this initiative during COP29. We have several discussions now going on in Davos about the COP29 in Baku. Yeah. But also I would like to add, it's not only about optimizing the movement of containers. We are involving the containers which are abandoned, hundreds of thousands of container boxes now being abandoned in the region, countries like Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan, we always took everything already. There are no abandoned containers. Now we are moving to other countries. Afghanistan, after the US Army left the country, there are hundreds of thousands of boxes available there. And imagine how much energy and what is the carbon footprint to produce these containers. Instead of producing the new boxes, we can bring the old boxes into the circulation. But for that, we need, again, traceability, track and trace technology, and the solution is through satellites. Yeah. Thank you.
And maybe Ashok, because you are very focused on sustainability and carbon offsetting, how that will play in order to use your technology in order to assist a carbon offsetting process on this very polluted industry, which is the transportation.
Yeah, I think he gave a brilliant example of, so the 3 R's of sustainability, reduce, recycle, and reuse are very, very critical, right? And I think traceability is a key aspect of achieving the 3 R's. Unless we are tracking or tracing, unless we have data available and data that is authenticate, data that is that you can rely on, making these decisions are very, very difficult. So my company, Carbon Minus, is currently focused on industrial sector, right? We gather data from the manufacturing plants. We optimize, we use ISO standard algorithms to kind of find where the wastage is. And a lot of these initiatives around climate tech, one fundamental aspect people miss out on is the best and the most efficient way to reduce carbon emissions is actually to reduce wastage. And that's a very key factor a lot of people miss out on. You try to have new technologies, you do carbon sequestration. There's a lot happening and all that is good. But at the bottom line, and something that is particularly very, very useful for actual manufacturers, people who are in the business, is how do we improve their operational efficiencies so that the wastage goes down and every dollar wastage that is reduced has an equivalent kind of impact on the reduction of ill effects on the climate. And I think that's something that's kind of coming out here, that using technology to track is critical and technology that you can rely on. And IoT devices and satellite is a great combination in that.
Thank you very much. So just an organizational aspect. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this door in the back. So this door is going to be closed. So any one of you would like to come in here to listen, you're most welcome. But this room is going to be closed. It's a private room and it's going to be closed. So if you don't mind to move here, and if you're here, please keep silent, because this is the word I have been using tonight more recurrently. I'm gonna trademark the word. So if you don't mind to come into this room, we're gonna close that room. Sorry, apologies. Just let's go.
No, I think we did convey the point. Sorry. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Maybe I wanted to react because sustainability is an important aspect of space, and also saying that not only IoT, there is good example here, and thank you very much for the examples, because we know space also about monitoring our climate with Earth observation images, and we know it is, well, we are not doing, of course space is fun, but we are not doing, or we are not putting satellites around the Earth just because it's fun. It's also because it's giving an added value, an economic value, but also a societal value. And more in general, I think it's pretty clear if we take the UN SDGs, for example, we will never reach them without space asset in general. And again, I think your example here is a great example there. So thank you very much for that. Yeah.
Well, we develop devices, technology, but believe me that for us is the less important thing is what we're going to do with it. You've talked about the wastage. It's supposed that vegetables and fruits could be around 20% failure operations. So you send them, but once you get them at the end of the shipment, they are died. That's something that you can go in advance with the data. I think it's the way we have to work in these areas.
Thank you. And well, my colleague also mentioned economic sustainability, and that's something I briefly evoked in the beginning. And I think this is key today, right? About 15 years ago, you correct me, but Swiss government produced a strategy about space, and the strategy was basically we don't want to put ourselves on the map because we would be one of the very few countries in the world able to send satellites. Therefore, it's painting a target on our back. And today, this vision is completely changing. And the future strategy and the future vision of the government is going to be diametrically opposite to that. And we realize that space is now economically profitable in comparison with old land-based technology that we have. And just as a metric, right, rough metric, setting up a telecommunication network in Switzerland would be estimated twice more expensive today if made with land-based technology than with satellite-based technology. And I think that's very important that we're able to get that in the collective mind, that this is economically and viable and sustainable.
But one question on the presence of Switzerland or Europe in Spain is that we don't have launchers. We actually, WISeKey is working with PLD Space, which is a Spanish startup, and they launch Miura rocket. It's successful, it's a small rocket. The next one is going to be in 3 years' time. By the time they are, but there is absolutely no backing, fundamental financial backing for launchers. I mean, if you go to a SpaceX, the reason why they are where they are is because they have the U.S. government fully financing them. Do you have any views on is that going to change in Europe, or is going to be 100% risk for entrepreneurs to take the decision to go to the space like I did?
Well, I'd say we're certainly going to be late. We already are. Now I come from a company that some years ago had a whole space division that was building with ESA some launchers. I won't express myself. I'm very sad we don't have it anymore. And if I may just add something to what you said, there are specific orbits that would serve, for example, specifically Switzerland, right? And those orbits are not necessarily served by SpaceX or by a US agency for geographical reason. And that's one more reason why we need absolutely to develop in Europe launching capabilities and defend our interests. And now basically east and west we have launchers, but right in the middle ESA is...
We have ESA, we have Ariane 5, yes. But it's very expensive. I have been told that Ariane 5, the problem is that it's not sustainable in terms of economic investment. They just burn money in the last year. So how we can, I mean, Elon Musk is doing an IPO on a Starlink, and the business model actually is not a SpaceX, it's a Starlink, right? So do we, or can we build something like that here in Europe or in Switzerland?
On why is ESA so expensive? I mean, I understand also Switzerland is fully part of ESA, but why is it so expensive?
Well, difficult to explain all of that, but the first thing which is important to remind, indeed, Switzerland is full member of ESA, was a founding member of ESA 50 years ago. Basically, almost all our money is going to ESA. coming back in Switzerland, roughly 80% for contract with the industry, with the science also to develop. So being part of ESA is also giving us the opportunity to be part of every missions that ESA is having. Speaking about launchers, we have a great contribution of Switzerland in the Ariane story. We know now that there are, of course, it's not so easy. Indeed, the competition is very hard. All broken also by what happened in the US. We are expensive in Europe, that's correct. I think we are reacting also. Looking at the companies, you mentioned PLD, there is also Rocket Factory Augsburg in Germany. I think ESA is also looking at what could be these opportunities of having new space companies. Of course, they are the main focus is now with Ariane 6, with Vega also, with the Italian. But yes, that's correct. We are a little bit behind now, and we expect also that the private companies are coming. But it's very difficult to compare with US because in US, basically SpaceX had big contracts from the government, which is less easy here.
Yeah, but here in Switzerland, and it's happening. We also have the Swiss Army. I mean, and they need satellite access because we have many mountains, and I've been told that just putting antennas in the top of the mountain to track and trace objects in the valleys is so expensive. So I think the important thing is to develop a business model that makes this investment profitable, which is that basically SpaceX is going to do an IPO at $36 billion valuation, something like that. So we learn how to do that. This is accessible to us. We have the same capabilities in terms to be able to create the next SpaceX in Europe. But we need to copy or inspire from the American model because this is the one is working, right?
Well, I think inspiration is already around, and that's clear. Let's see what will happen. It's important that the private sector is growing there. As you said, there is new interest, of course, in the defense. Well, honestly, I don't think we will build a full rocket only for Swiss needs,
sure,
but I think it's important that I think it was a few years ago when in 2015 when they decided about the future of Ariane 5, they did an evaluation of the market demand, and at that time it was before having Starlink, for example, in the US, and at that time it was said that we wanted that many launches per year. The demand. So we were probably wrong at that time. We didn't see coming this wave of constellations. That's very clear. Now we are in the reaction and not in the action, but we expect that the private sector will take the lead there.
Sorry, Carlos, I would like to say that it's happening already. 5 years ago, for us, it was impossible to pretend to make a huge development because the cost of connection and the quantity of energy that we had to use to get the satellite was a disaster for a real project with thousands of units working for us and for the customers. And now that's possible. The cost has gone down like 10 times, and the energy we use to connect with the satellite, it's 20 or 30 times smaller than 5 years ago. So it's great. It's allowing us making this kind of projects.
And actually also the cost of launching itself, because I tell you for myself, SpaceX is $250,000 to put one picosatellite in orbit end-to-end, whether Miura is going to be something like $30,000 because you can scale down the cost. So if you have a few industries that they need, you can launch a Miura every day, like it's happening now in SpaceX, right? So we need to aggregate and we need to cooperate on that. We have very short time. We only have 10 minutes, so I don't know if the audience has any questions related to IoT, space, satellite, blockchain, tokenization. So many subjects has been covered here. If you have any question, Anastasia is available to give you the microphone. While that is happening, another aspect is, and this has been announced yesterday by CLSQ, which is the sister company of WISeKey, also on the NASDAQ, is that we are launching a token. We call that a CL coin. So it is a machine-to-machine payment token. So as we provide semiconductors, then we embed into objects like cameras, routers, medical devices. The vision of the future is that those objects are going to pay themselves without the need to go outside the ecosystem. That's going to reduce substantially the fees because that's going to be cryptocurrency payment back and forward, but can also be injected into that coin sustainability models like carbon offsetting. It will be like a tax that you can add in the coin. So we are launching that tomorrow in Hedera. Actually, we are with you tomorrow in the panel. I will invite you guys to join us there because it's a very exciting way of revolutionizing what I call TIoT, which is transactional IoT. And this is something that I think will also accelerate because you can basically use those tokens as a way to invest in the next generation launchers. Any question? And again, if you don't mind to keep silent, we have been doing very well in the last 10 minutes. So if we can keep, that will be great. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Yep.
Hi, Dr. Clotilde Monguia. I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I had 2 questions.
Excuse me, gentlemen, will you please be quiet?
The first one will be, hi, Dr. Clotilde Monguia from New York. The first time will be about regulation. We talk a lot about regulation, and we really are regulated ourselves in silo. Here you come, very happy to see you aggregate. Talk to me what you intend to do about regulation. Talking aggregation. Second question, very quick. I come from the healthcare sectors, and the packaging, inventorying, what you just said, I'm looking at a model for vaccine. So I will be very pleased to be introduced to one of you guys and see how we can optimize the distribution of vaccine to the people who need it the most using this technology. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. About the standards, we are very worried about that, and we have a help from this company. We integrate the chipsets in the motherboard, so from the origin the data is being protected. We encrypt it. We use PKI. We put a blockchain above it, and among that is the question that you're making. But you have to do that before. If you don't do that, what you are asking for is not so important. We are complying the U.S. Cyber Trust, also the common criteria, the FIPS, and other important regulations about cybersecurity. And about the other question, perhaps I could give an answer, but
this point of the cyber trust mark is a very important point because the US government and soon Europe is imposing that mark as a way to ensure that whatever you connect to the internet, could be a medical appliance, could be a connected car, it is secure. It means that you don't compromise the secure of the ecosystem because you are connecting something which is unsecure. So this is a very important step ahead. It's something like FIA is for medical products, but now for IoT. Somebody wants to react to that? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, if I can just add briefly, all the solutions that we're discussing here involve the utilization of data. But that data needs to be relied upon, particularly in the case of vaccines. And this is something where distributed ledgers have value. It's not useful having data in an Excel spreadsheet if somebody can enter it and change that data. But you have knowledge if you're using a distributed ledger or blockchain that once the data is in, you're able to create, but you can't update or delete it, which gives a certain degree of confidence to the end users.
Yeah, I would like to add, to both your comments or questions. I think on the regulatory side, we need to kind of realize that space technology as such was just a few years back was entirely under the control of nations and military, right? It is in the last couple of decades that it's getting privatized, and more private companies are participating in this, and there is a need to kind of move towards more agreed kind of frameworks and regulations. And I think there is a movement, as Carlos just mentioned about that seal. So that is happening. It's kind of a little bit lagging behind, but then there is a move towards that. So we have to realize the kind of context that is originated from military and controlled national listing. On the vaccine thing, as our friend here really brought out, blockchain is important because you need to rely on the data. And in my previous role with Casper, we had kind of done a pilot around UAE, around using data on blockchain to guarantee that the vaccines, when they are moving across the supply chain, that they maintain their temperature, pressure parameters, that the boxes in which the vaccines are, they are sealed and they're not tampered with. So all these things are important. And not only that, once you are giving the vaccines the last mile where it is kind of getting administered, you want to make sure that the number is available based on the incoming demand, and if not, then how can you redistribute at the end rather than taking it again to the centers and then kind of distributing it. So the outlets can they transfer between themselves and things like that, right? So yes, there is, I think, innovation happening in this area.
I will need to stop here because we have another very interesting panel coming, which is on something totally different, which is art tokenization. We have amazing artists. Then they're going to explain how they are using the internet and the blockchain and tokenization to sell their art. We're going to be deploying WISeArt as well. So stay with us because it's a very important panel. Before I leave, I would like again to give the floor to David as we're going to reward this amazing panel for their contribution to space technology, which is something very early. Space technologies like we were at the time of the World Wide Web in 1999, 25 years ago when I founded WISeKey. Very early, but huge potential. So I give the floor now to my friend David.
Thank you, Carlos. Well, gentlemen, I think it goes without saying that I'm looking forward to seeing some more women in this collective group next year. I know they're behind you, supporting and driving you. This award that's been developed in collaboration with WISeKey by the Global M&A and Foreign Investment Council, together with the China M&A Association, for whom we're looking for great opportunities in the future, represents our recognition of your innovation in space, the final frontier, not only for what you've done, but as with the group before you, who were recognized for their contributions to AI, but equally importantly, what you're going to do going forward. So, congratulations.
So you all will receive a medal like that? Yeah. And in the way out or before you leave, you also have a beautiful bottle of champagne and a hat in order to celebrate this beautiful medal. So congratulations for your presence, and thank you very much for an amazing panel. Thank you for the audience, and thank you for your effort to be quiet. We really appreciate that. So now I'm going to give the floor to 16, which is our art director and in charge of WISeArt. She has built a very powerful panel of artists and technologies. Then they are working to digitalize the art world. This is a very big endeavor, and we will just keep you guys. And after that, we're going to have a dinner together and continue celebrating. So please, 16, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Carlos. Come up to the floor, please. No, there's no specific order. So you're Eve? Okay, so we've got Eve. No, I'm going to stand. I'm going to stand. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm the one bringing you. So I'd like to thank the audience, first of all, for being here. I'm going to request again that people are quiet so we can hear what we have to say. I'm the director, as Carlos says, to the WISeArt platform. It's a secured platform, which obviously is powered by WISeKey. There is a KYC process. There is also a vetting process. So this is how we differentiate ourselves from most other platforms. And we've got a great panel of speakers. We've got Andrew, if we can have your attention. We've got Antoine Sarraute, who is the founder of Wakweli, and he will tell you more about that. We've got Angela Pan from China, but also from Canada, right? Yeah. And then we've got Monty Metzger, who's just written a book. He'll tell you more about that as well. It's right there, and I can tell you it's about tokenization. We've got Cynthia West, who is the author and the conceiver, I would say, of Spice Journeys, which is it's a very clever mix of art and food and digitalization and tokenization. And then we've got Yves Hollenstein, who's part of Bitcoin, if I understand correctly. Yeah. And then we've got Georg Bach. Georg Bach, we've known each other for a while. He's from Zug, and he's an art historian specialized in digital art and also runs and advises on various platforms and museums for curatorship, and is the great founder now of the Art Basel Digital Mile, which will take place for the first time during Art Basel Week in June. And then we've got Andreas, who will be co-moderating with me. He's our genius developer and innovation chief operator, and I don't know what else that to say on the title. But we've been working together as well for the last 2 years. So thank you very much for being here, everybody. We will have a Q&A at the end of the session, so please hold your questions to the end, and I hope there's plenty. I'd also quickly like to say that we have a little award ceremony because every year WISE Art hands out 10 Excellence Awards for the various categories that we have. They've been on the film, which is in the room next door. And one of the artists is present here with us. His name is Ilan Anoufa, and he's got a very cute bear that he makes, and he makes them in all sizes. He's got monumental outdoor installations all over, in Paris, in the south of Spain, everywhere in Dubai. He also is a digital artist, and he now does collaborations with people like Lenny Kravitz, and you've got the example next door, but the Rolling Stones, etc. And then we've got another artist, Pedro Sandoval, whom I think you've already met this afternoon. And he's going to work on the Renaissance art, but does loads of different art appropriation videos and digital versions. So here we go. Maybe I'll start by alphabetical order, and I'll hand the mic out. So maybe you can all introduce yourselves and tell us exactly what you do. So maybe I'll start with Georg Bach, being a B. And yeah, so digital art, is that the right terminology, or tell us more?
Yeah, well, maybe not. Yeah. Yeah, I'm working in digital art. I actually have a background as an art advisor with 20 years experience, and entered very early on into the space of NFTs.
Can I get some quiet in the room, please? Thank you very much.
So, yeah, started 2017-18 with NFTs, did some exhibitions. One of the most well-known exhibitions I did was the first exhibition with the CryptoPunks. 2018, it was called Perfect and Priceless. And since then I've been advising collectors or investors who enter the collectibles or NFT space.
And how are you finding that from the traditional art to the collectors? Are they taking that jump?
Well, I brought in a few traditional collectors into the space who spent a lot of money for NFTs, and they actually, they started collecting quite early on, and I think they also invested very well. Obviously, there is a barrier, the technical barrier.
So you need to, have a wallet. You have to be careful with custody, etc. You have to learn how to buy and sell NFTs. So for a lot of traditional collectors, it's more difficult. But I mean, there are some, and there are more and more, I think.
I think right now in Davos, in the audience, everybody knows what a wallet is or a cryptocurrency. So this is it. And we've actually got an ATM NFT machine, which is a first, and it's right next door. So we're also, WiseArt is very happy to gift you your first NFT. And we have a gentleman called Quentin. He's working next door just for you. So after the show, I suggest you each go and get your first NFT or your umpteenth NFT, if you want. Thanks, Georg. Andrew, it's great to see you again. You're next in line in the alphabetical order. So how is the WiseArt and your company, Hedera? We're now part of the same team. How's that gonna, what are you gonna tell me to do now?
Well, I think it has been a wonderful collaboration and an education, integrating Hedera with WiseArt. You raised some critical points about the applicability and how easy it is to actually deal with tokens and NFTs and whatnot. And if you do go to the ATM that they have, it's shockingly easy. And this underlies the fact that Web3 technology, blockchain technology, the adoption of NFTs, it will actually become ubiquitous because it's far more secure. So from an art perspective, it guarantees provenance of the product that you buy. But with platforms like WiseArt, it's also easy. And I think making things easy is the key to accelerating both enterprise and consumer adoption. So in that regards, I'd say WiseArt should keep doing what they're doing.
Well, thank you. We've got loads of projects up our sleeves, and of course, Carlos Moreira has told you some already. And this brings me to you, Yves. You're Bitcoin Swiss. Now, over lunch, we had a big discussion about the importance of Bitcoin and the whole history of all of this. What's Bitcoin Swiss? What's your take on this?
Okay, so Bitcoin Swiss is a financial services company, basically, that was founded in the very early days of blockchain technology, where Bitcoin was pretty much the only protocol or currency available. That's where the name stems from. And nowadays, naturally, we represent distributed ledgers in general. Okay. And Hedera is one example. And we have been partially involved in the art space. We tried out several things in 2017-18 in the NFT space as a product offering. Back in the day, it was kind of hard to find a product market match. So we then stepped a little bit back from like providing custody for NFTs. We still have a lot of like nerds from the old days, and you still find, if you go to our offices, you find crypto-related art everywhere on the walls. There's even one of the first, I think it was 100 CryptoPunks that came with a physical copy, and I think it came from you.
Yeah, I sold one to Nicolas Nicolais, I remember that.
Exactly.
It's one of the 25 digital CryptoPunks, and I think we were quite pioneers when it comes to digital, because I believe we even invented that term digital at that time.
Exactly. So while we don't have like an official offering in the area, we still always like follow the scene. Me as a personal example, I think it was 2020 or early 2021, I participated in tokenization of a Picasso work that Signum did together with Artimundi. Unfortunately, they sold it, so I can no longer call myself a partial owner of a Picasso. But yeah, so the point is, from a corporate perspective, we're observing the space, trying to find out how we can put NFT custody and productivize it in a way that we can offer it. And I think that's something where then rather your platform comes into play, which probably does a better job at bridging that to the clients.
Well, we'll come back and talk to you and your clients, huh? Because we're both Georg and I can be art advisors on different platforms. That's okay. The more, the merrier. Now I'd like to introduce a completely different concept, and that's Cindyas. Cindyas has written a book about gastronomy, mainly, and art, and the digital sector. So tell us about Spice Journeys and the movie.
Yeah, so hi everybody. 16, thanks for having me here. I'm passionate about Web3 and very happy to be here. As she mentioned, I've written a novel, which I'm holding. It's called The Spice Temple, The Journey Begins. It's a work of literary fiction, and I call it culinary fiction because I use food as a metaphor. And it takes you basically on sort of travel journeys, and it's also light touch social causes. So with that story world, I've also created an accompanying book, and there'll be an innovative app that goes with it. And I'm more excited about the app because it will be a precursor to like other Web3 experiences. So that will have the images from the dishes I describe in the novel, from some of the world's best chefs. I'm very lucky. Artworks that represent characters, themes, and scenes. And
you've got Benedict Hadley, who's a wise art artist.
Exactly,
so,
which
yeah.
I will mention that in a minute, yeah. And so it also has ideas for conversations. And so that particular app in that book, I had curated the art, so I've been going to Art Basel for years and all the satellite events, and over the years I've become friends with many of the artists as well, and I felt like it needed another edge, and I got really interested in NFTs, and also metaverse and everything kind of Web3. So exactly a year ago I came to this event, and it was life-changing. So I remember standing over there watching the award ceremony, and there was one particular artist who was very articulate, and I was just so curious about what he did. I didn't really understand I knew he did film. And then I posted something on LinkedIn. And then somebody liked it, and it's like, oh, it's a filmmaker. And I have 4 film concepts to go along with the novels. So we connected, and Benedict and I have become great friends. And in terms of the curation, I did my first digital art show at Unpaired in Zug back in November. Benedict is part of that show, which I'm very glad about. And we are also looking to merge our story world. So going forward with whether it be film or NFTs, and of course the narrative, we'll be creating things together. So I'm excited to work with him and hopefully other wise art artists going forward.
Yeah, we should add as well that Wise Art is very much involved in social work. And Benedict made a movie in New Jersey, and he's actually a Cannes Award winner, like he's got a Caesar. And the boy that he was portraying in his movie was shot accidentally in the street by a gang member directly after. He was 15 years old, a promising basketball player. So we're also going to be raising funds for Karim. Is that right?
Khalif,
Through the
Khalif.
Khalif, yeah, sorry.
I'm really glad to hear that because also it's exactly one of the works that represent this boy. And so he came up, like he had this thing called trap cake. So this boy tried to bring something sweet to a hard spot, and that really spoke to me. And when I heard about what happened, that he had been shot, I'm trying to kind of bring the spirit of this boy to life through the story world. And you'll see it in the film afterwards during the apéro. There's a short film based on the art of storytelling, the digital art show, and Khalif's picture is there, from Benedict Hadley. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. Then next in line is Monty, who also, Monty Metzger just wrote his book on tokenization. We were going to deliver some books today. Unfortunately, logistics didn't happen. This can, whatever. It's life. So tell us about the book.
Yes, so my name is Monty Metzger. I'm CEO and founder of LCX. LCX stands for the Liechtenstein Crypto Assets Exchange. And I think it's great that you're all here because this is probably the most important panel you've been to in a whole week. It's about tokenization. And I can tell you why it's important. Because if you look at the current cryptocurrency and blockchain market, we're just below $2 trillion market cap of the whole industry. But if you look at tokenization and the potential of tokenizing real-world assets, we're talking about trillions, hundreds of trillions of dollars of opportunity. So it's really where the market is going. That's why WISeKey is investing in it as well, and it might be probably the big revenue driver of the future. But what is tokenization? So in this book, which I launched yesterday, I'm talking about this $1 trillion asset revolution and tokenization. And I define tokenization as being the process of issuing a digital asset, a token on the blockchain, with an underlying physical asset below, a real world asset. And at LCX in Liechtenstein, we are leveraging a legal framework called the Blockchain Act. We gained 9 registrations as a so-called trusted technology service provider. And one of these roles is the so-called physical validator, which is like a notary making sure that the underlying asset is actually there. It's not stolen, there's no debt on it, and it's safeguarded the right way. And to get the registration, we talked to the regulator and we looked for a very simple use case. And we started out with diamonds. So we tokenized diamonds 101. The project is called Diamonds. And there we are keeping the diamonds in a physical vault in Liechtenstein. And you can buy the NFT as an ownership token to this underlying asset. And then you can trade it, you can gift it across borders on a global level, enable trade without paying any import taxes, without paying any transportation fees or FedEx or DHL or whatever to actually move the asset from A to B. It stays there, it's insured, and it's safeguarded. And the unique thing is that you can always redeem it. We make sure as a physical validator that it's actually there and it's kept in a safe place. And we use this as an example just to show how tokenization works. And the government over there had been very future-minded. So when 2015, they started with a working group to create this role as a physical validator. And it's now enabling tokenization of everything. And I often say, everything that can be tokenized will be tokenized. And with art, it's a huge potential because it's the same problem that sometimes you have a very precious art piece and you want to enable it to be traded on a global level to the global audience. The art collectors just keep it in a vault, you know, whether it's in Liechtenstein or somewhere else. And so that's why the potential is really unlocking this $1 trillion market. And that's why we're all here. That's why I'm glad you all came to this important topic.
It's true, and well, in the case of the phygital aspect, the art will still be in vaults, because basically free ports are a Swiss invention, so we're not going to get away from that. But the digital world can open doors. Yeah, am I saying the right thing? I also wanted to say, I hear it from expert mouths in New York, that now is the time to buy Bitcoin and hold.
I'm not going to say a word.
Okay, there's no free consultations today. All right. Angela, you're next in line. So I really don't know much about you other than what I've read, but I'm really happy you're here. So tell us about cosmic ecology.
Yeah, sure. Let me introduce myself first. So, hi, everyone. My name is Angela Pan from Canada, and also have my company in Canada and China. So I founded my company at 2016 at Vancouver. So we have our ecosystem like doing the VR editors software at first. Then we have our metaverse platform named Liveverse. And then recently we have a new platform named NFT Pro. So what's the NFT Pro doing is we have the physical digital card system, and we have the platform to make the NFT as like a physical card. Why we do that? Because it can be combined the Web3 and also the blockchain and also the VR and the AR, the interactive together. So that's why it's very easy to social and the collection. So that is also can revolution of the NFT market.
So you're going from digital to physical.
Yeah,
You're
and
going the other way
also
around.
physical to digital.
Okay.
Why? Because recently we have a partnership. It's like a wine factory. They have a lot of VIP memberships. So they use the NFT Pros product to link with their consumers. And because this year is 2014, so next year is 2025. So their the value is increased, and the card, the membership is increased too. So people can use the blockchain, have the digital the smart contract online, and they use the NFT to link with their members, VIPs. So this is the one example. And we just launching 100 days, but we also have more than 100 partnerships in the global. So that is in different scenarios, like tourism, like the NFT market, exchange market, and also we have the manufacturing and some like IP holders. They will launching lots of cars. Like also recently we will have our own IP with our own products name partner with the Bruce Lee. So so it will be launching soon, and so everyone will get the Bruce Lee's card, maybe international and also in China too. Yeah.
Just goes to show with NFTs you can go from diamonds to food to martial arts to bonnets. Yeah, they're all. So the NFTs that we're giving away today, they're dated, and probably next year we'll have other ones. So the ones you get today for free will probably be worth something next year, right?
And also we prepare some gifts. This is partnership with AI and the Web3 platform. And this is their VIP card, so everyone can scan it and get the VIP card, the physical and the digital one.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela. So we'll invite all of you to go and talk to Angela after the show. Next, because it's an S, it's Antoine Sarraute. So I have to say that since I've been in this world, I've discovered a lot of communities, and they're building all the time. So we've got lots of groups in Geneva that discuss and meet and exchange on cryptos, on NFTs. There's a festival called GEC, and I keep meeting Antoine everywhere, so that's where he is. But he's originally from Paris. And tell us about Wakweli. I know I just found today that it was Swahili. So
exactly, it's Swahili. It means people who tell the truth. And thank you for the introduction. Thank you for all of you for being here. I'm Antoine Sarraute. I'm a computer scientist and entrepreneur, and I've been working in decentralized technologies since 2011. I can tell you something, Monty is right. You came to the most important panel of the day, because tokenization, here we talk about digital art, but it's so much more than that. The Bostock Consulting Group, they said in 6 years from now, it's a $16 trillion market. And it's their low estimate. They say themselves it can go as high as 68 trillions. It's because on top of digital art, you also have tokenized real estate, tokenized diamonds, tokenized commodities, tokenized everything. What we are living right now, basically, is a transition between the physical property title to the digital one. And something is happening right now, which happened a few decades ago when we transitioned from physical mail to emails. It became super easy to send tons of scammy stuff to anyone at no cost. And this is what we are seeing with NFTs right now, because it's really easy to create something that looks like the original NFT but is not. And Wakweli is the only system that protects this, that protects you from scammers, a universal certification protocol that scales because it's powered by the community. We gathered key actors from the crypto OG sphere, pioneers of the field, to build this protocol in Geneva, because we created the first blockchain game ever with assets on-chain since 2015. Ethereum was not live at the time, so it's on Bitcoin. And during the Bored Ape bubble 2021, we had a lot of success, and all of our gaming cards, the market cap raised over $400 million. And we were like, what is happening? It belongs to the players, by the way, so the real players were really happy about this. George knows about the story behind this, Space of Genesis and all. And we had a problem. We were trading at more than 50K for some of them. It was almost impossible to find a single card which is not a scam. And this is happening right now in the digital art sphere. You want to buy some cool art from an artist. you go, you see, this one is not really expensive, you buy it, but it's not the real one. And the artist is scammed, he doesn't get the money from his client, and the client is scammed because he's not getting the proper digital art that he wants. So it's a catastrophe. Instead of being like doing your art, you end your day like doing emails and replying to angry customers, and this is not possible. And this is what Wakweli is all about, protecting everyone for this transition, and now backed by the Trust Valley and the Tech for Trust initiative, backed by the canton of Geneva, canton of Vaud, to protect this. So it's official, the protocol is launching now. We had a fundraising round before closed, opening a new one now, and you have the opportunity to participate in this, if you'd like.
I think WiseArt will, because your certification, as we said over lunch, can certify our certification at the end of the day. Andreas, you might have some questions, more technical questions, so I'm going to leave the floor for a moment.
Yes, thank you, 16. I'll take over the technical questions. Just a quick introduction. I'm Andreas Moreira, Chief Innovation Officer for WISeKey and WiseArt, in charge of the technology development, and looking forward for the future because we have lots of different interesting projects, such as Silcoin, which is announced in partnership with Google and Devo team. So if you have any questions with me later on, we can talk about this. But specifically on Bitcoin, Yves, I think we all know that the market is synchronized with the halving on Bitcoin, and we see that with the uprising of the Bitcoin price, the whole ecosystem is waking up from the slumber, from the crypto winter. What is, in your opinion, the position of all those different players, such as Solana and Ethereum and others in the NFT space? Do you think there's a synchronization on the activity of NFTs and the activity of Bitcoin, and why do you see other players?
Well, traditionally, everything that is not Bitcoin is called altcoin by some of the community, and typically the altcoins, they suffer first when Bitcoin goes up, and there's like a second group, like all the altcoins minus Ethereum, but I think generally it's good that the whole depressive 2 years of this bear market are over, so the whole topic gets, again, more attention. I think a lot of companies and projects have been building for those 2 years. If they didn't run out of money, they continued building, and a lot of them are launching really good products and technologies. A lot of the underlying protocols have like shifted in focus. You just mentioned Solana, which was originally built as a high-frequency trading protocol, and somehow, because of some stability issues mainly, wasn't used for the purpose, but actually was more adopted by the gaming and the NFT scene. Then there's Tezos that also had an NFT kind of usage group. But then again, that correlates a lot with, let's say, those mass pieces of generative art, or let's say combined art. I don't know the actual term when you look at the Bored Apes or the punks, where you have like 10,000 variations with certain rareness factors, etc. But I think there's like, and that might be different opinion than you have, there's like a difference of those tens of thousands of such collections that come up with everybody just trying to make a big buck, as opposed to the, let's say, serious art that just wants to have a proper distribution channel on the one hand and opening up new target groups, but then also, on the other hand, groups that want to democratize access to art. Because, I mean, there's this movement also where community is like assembling to buy pieces of art or tokenized versions of pieces of art to prevent them from just being buried in a vault for the next 20 years, but actually have like crowdsourcing to have a fractionalized ownership and then ensure that the pieces of art actually get displayed in museums, etc. And so I think there's like these two different areas, and I believe it's more like blockchains or ledgers that focus on those topics like Hedera that will capture more of that serious topic. whereas Ethereum still has a very big share. I think over time, user experience is key. And that means you need a platform that is making it easy and a technology underlying that makes it easy. So I think there's a shift to those specialized protocols.
Awesome, thank you very much. And talking about the Hedera, I mean, I would like to ask you, Andrew, a question. In your opinion, can you discuss the impact of tokenization on artists' ability to monetize their work and reach a more global audience? What is it in your opinion?
Okay. I think I'll start with a discussion on what Hedera is and what the network is, because what that does is it enables us to understand the scope and scale of what we can offer. So Hedera is unequivocally, by way of transactions, the largest distributed ledger in the world. We have processed at this point on our mainnet over 23 or 24 billion transactions. We are also the fastest major distributed ledger in the world with the ability to process up to 10,000 transactions per second. Another unique feature of Hedera is that our gas fees, which is something that developers are very, very familiar with. So every time the price of Bitcoin goes up, your transaction fees goes up. Well, in our case, our gas fees are pegged to the US dollar, and they are set at a low 1/1000th of a dollar, or about 0.0001 of a US dollar. Why is that relevant? Very briefly, it means you are able to deploy applications that have broad applicability even in emerging markets. So poor artist or an artist who emanates from a poor country has the same access to the technology as an artist that resides in a wealthy country. So that gives an underlying scope of what Hedera does. I want to just add one thing about what I can do as part of the Hashgraph Association. There are many people who have projects, particularly that have an interest in raising capital in the Web3 space. The Hashgraph Association and the affiliated entities, actually, we invest in these projects. So if you have an opportunity, you have a good concept that is running live and you have an interest, please reach out to me directly so that we can perhaps support you on your journey. And the reason why I bring that up was I was actually very, very interested in the Liechtenstein exchange. Because we have such a high volume of transactions, we also tend to have a good specialty or connection with enterprises who are implementing Web3 and blockchain. So I hope I've covered it without consuming too much time.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm going to take over again, just to also remind everybody or inform everybody that WISeArt is really open to a whole lot of projects, and we do many different things. And it's interesting, and we have NFTs going from $50 to $250,000, and we're looking for people like Hedera, to help us develop and grow, and thanks for your investment. That's been great. So I'll just continue quickly. I'm sorry, I'm cutting it a little bit short, but we are running out of time. And one of the artists who won a prize this year for 2023 is our good friend Ilan Anufa, and he's got, as I said, the bear in the other room. But I'd like him to get your prize. You'll get your prize in a minute. But I'd like to thank you very much for the trust that you've put into WISeArt, and I know that there's lots of projects ahead. In the future.
Correct. It's a future.
So,
it's made a project with WISeArt, and I'm very pleased to work with you and to collaborate with you, because WISeArt for me, it will be a major actor of the art in the digital world.
Well, we definitely connected today. We found that out, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So again, may I remind everybody, Anufa's bear is in the room next door. There's lots of projects going on. He also works with various French vineyards, etc. And one of the projects that is in the making right now is, and we've already spoken about Renaissance and digital art. So I'd like to give the floor to Carlos Moreira to tell you about the next project.
Thank you very much. I would like to invite, he's on the phone, George. It's your turn. So first of all, I would like to just thank again everybody in this panel because you are contributing to make art universal, not only in museums, not only in galleries, not only in collections, private collections, a lot of art in private collections. We have here an art collectionist, one of the largest in Italy. He has art from the Vatican, from the Renaissance period. And when I met him, his major concern is say, my art in my collection only is seen by an elite of people, not by everybody. How can we make that art universal? And he has built a very interesting company. He's going to explain to me in Italian. I understand, I speak a bit Italian, and I'm going to translate that to English. So the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Buonasera a tutti, grazie a WISeKey per essere presente qua. Io rappresento GM Artification, un'azienda che ha sta tokenizzando una buona parte di opere del Rinascimento italiano.
So, I speak Italian, but not an AI algorithm. So he thanks WISeKey for the contribution. He's the founder of GMA, which is a company that is digitalizing art, and in particular art from the Renaissance, Italian Renaissance, which, as you know, was the prolific period on the history with Michelangelo, Leonardo, and all these amazing artists.
Allo stato attuale la piattaforma di GMA ha già diverse opere d'arte in NFT sulla propria piattaforma.
We have already art by GMA, which is the company as an NFT in the platform, which is in collaboration actually with WiseArt.
Una piattaforma che è in continua crescita e nei prossimi anni prevede l'arricchimento, anzi nei prossimi mesi prevede un arricchimento molto più alto di quello che è già presente.
It's a platform which is growing very fast, and within the next month we are implementing a huge exponential growth of the platform. Yeah. Sorry? Yeah. So he wants me to introduce the Renaissance coin, but I prefer him to do it because I am 100%. I will do the economics of it, but go ahead on the idea itself. I think it's important. Okay.
Con le piattaforme, quindi la collezione di NFT nel Rinascimento italiano, condivisa l'idea con Carlos di lanciare il Renaissance Coin, quindi un coin che sia legato al patrimonio del Rinascimento artistico italiano.
So he met with me, and we were actually together in Rome, where he has several galleries and collections, and we agreed to combine the entire Renaissance collection that he has, value that collection by a third-party audit process, and then tokenizing the connection through the launch of what we call Renaissance Coin. Which is a coin that will allow anybody that wants to invest in the Renaissance art to be part of that investment community.
Quindi scommettiamo su questo progetto e scommettiamo soprattutto di portare col coin in giro per il mondo il Rinascimento italiano, quindi Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci e tutti gli artisti che forse sono sconosciuti alla massa, però che chiaramente hanno sicuramente tra il 1300 e il 1600 fatto dei grandi capolavori d'arte.
So this project will launch a movement in Italy with the name Renaissance Coin that will federate all the Renaissance art which is located in galleries, museums done by the masters like Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael and others, and is in cooperation with the Italian government and Ministry of Culture as a way to ensure that the entire world can participate to this art, which in many cases, by the way, and I adding, this is what he didn't tell me that, I'm telling you, it is in boxes. You know, we had visited the Vatican, for instance, and we had visited some museums, and art, amazing art, is still in boxes, and those museums are having issues to maintain that patrimony because a lot of money for maintenance, security, and all that. So this is a way for museum galleries, collectors to monetize their art without selling the original, because we are just selling the digital twins of those art. And it's also a huge educational movement for young generations to enjoy art in a way that is decentralized.
Ne approfittiamo per presentare la moneta, il simbolo del coin.
So he has developed with a very famous artist, which I don't know if he's here. Pedro Sandoval is here?
No.
No, it's not. Huh? It's downstairs? Yeah, but the meeting's here. Anyway, typical artist, you know, he's never in there. in the right place. No, Pedro Sandoval is an amazing Venezuelan Spanish artist that has developed a huge collection of Renaissance art interpretation. So, and he's part of this movement. He has designed this gold-plated medal, which is it is a very unique medal, which is provided to basically the investors community that he's building for monetizing the Renaissance coin. I wanted to have Pedro here because he's an amazing authority. He's with us. He was here. But anyway, if he comes in before we close the roundtable, I will introduce to him. But I think. Yeah, I think the message here to leave is that if anybody has art collections and is in contact with museums, I know China, for instance, has a huge art, we can, through this model, make it universal. And the entire world will be able to benefit, while at the same time we develop a business model to support those institutions that they are struggling to maintain their art. So I pass the floor back again to just maybe applaud you for your cooperation and great initiative. And I pass the floor back again to 16 on the Q&A session. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. So all our panelists will be with us for the drinks afterwards, but if anybody has any questions now, don't be shy. This is your time. Take the floor. Did anyone understand anything?
Completely. So I have a question for information. I'm hungry for some information. So Andrew, and forgive me, I don't remember his name, from Liechtenstein.
Monty.
Thank you, Monty. My name is Sarah. I'm very curious to know what you're seeing on the ledger and what you're seeing in your research about art genres that are coming up. And I don't mean the cost of them or the value of them. I mean, what's happening? Who's making what? Where do you see growth in exciting, innovative artists around the world? And maybe in your research on tokenization, you can talk about that. But if there's anything on the ledger that you could hint to, I think we'd find that really exciting. Thank you.
So basically what you're asking is a very important point, because it goes down to why do we do all this? Like, why does tokenization make sense? And there are three key reasons. First is accessibility. It gives access to artists around the world, somebody from Japan, from China, who has not been exposed to a global audience. And for us, as art lovers, we could be participating in this artwork very easily on the blockchain. Second is it creates a liquid market. So things which had been illiquid in the past, just being standing in a museum, could become liquid. So like what WISeArt is doing now is revolutionary, because it gives power into the hands in terms of creating a liquid market. And last but not least, it creates transparency. Price transparency, it creates a kind of an opportunity for new revenue streams for artists. And that's why tokenization is enabling all these three things all together. And it doesn't matter if it's on Hedera or on any other blockchain, but it's really a global phenomenon.
Yeah, I'm going to give a lot less of an intelligent answer. While I will agree, I think WISeKey is a superior platform for high-end art, to be perfectly frank. If you have an estate, a legacy, museum, I think it's fantastic for that. But what I see with the projects that come are a lot of electronically generated art by youngsters, and art that's associated with gaming. So it's actually pretty interesting. The level of adoption seems to be accelerated as the age demographic goes down. But a lot of these tokenized items aren't necessarily of significant value. They are effectively tokenized to be ancillary to gaming ecosystems, or kids and teenagers doing it for fun. So you have to weigh the total value locked proposition of the higher end platforms against the youngsters that are innovators just making stuff up and posting it online on a ledger.
Andrew's right, because we've actually got artists that go from I mean, I have Maoris from New Zealand. I've got Aboriginal art. I've got French people. I've got animation. We've got all sorts, and we've got university students from the University of Manchester. We've got a young lady from the United Arab Emirates. So it really opens the door. And another thing which no one's talked about, I suppose, is royalties, which is a totally novelty thing in the art world. Before, an artist would sell his piece if he was lucky enough to sell it overseas, well done, through the art fairs and whatever. But then whoever the collector is sold his work again. That was it for the artist. And often the value goes up, but the actual artist doesn't benefit from that. And I think with the NFT and the blockchain, this can change. There's been difficulties, we know, like in the various blockchains. It doesn't always happen as transparently as it should, or as smoothly as it should, but it is something. Does anybody have any other questions? Don't be shy. There you go.
I have my question is more like a philosophical question. So when talking about art, it has functions, right? To heal people's mind or make people sad even, which is also healing in a way. I wonder, any of you would share what is digital art doing to humanity? Is it doing more or less or the same? Yeah, please.
I'll give the floor to Cynthia, but definitely more. I've got an opinion too.
Yeah, I bet you do have an opinion. Yeah, I mean, I'd say like when I've curated the digital art for my book, I'm really looking at culture, positive, negatives, and the idea about the artwork is to start conversations for positive change. So it's entertainment, but also with a social purpose. And I think with NFTs, the exciting thing is, you've got traditional art, and then that stands. But with digital art, you can really bring storytelling in it, and if you have a positive narrative, then that can help with that kind of thing. And over time, you can do reveals, and then see maybe something starts off in a certain way and ends up differently. And maybe just one last thing about the power of blockchain and NFTs. I just think it's such a great platform and such a great medium to express artistic expression and also just to build community. I'd love to see it move into also like music and then the written word. Like poets are having a renaissance right now, and it's amazing if you guys know the verse, and they're doing great things. But literature is not really that present really yet. There's Write3 a little bit, so there's some movements and some newsletter platforms, but I hope that answers at least in part your question.
I will say something about your question because it's a very important question that we say that you can be the best pianist, musician, but if you play in your room, nobody will know about it, right? We have a lot of artists and they are playing in their room. And this platform allows them to reach out their emotions globally. I mean, this is like YouTube is for art, right? You just enter, publish, and then you have an entire ecosystem of millions of people and they are immediately available to share your emotions with you. And that creates a different level of connectivity. It's not only commercial or because I want to buy your money. It's because, like the case of Ian on his teddy bear. His bears are well known internationally. They are recognizable. You go to Marbella or Cannes or Paris and everybody recognizes him. So he managed to capture the emotion in one object. And what we are doing is amplifying that emotion through the platform. So I think this is a big opportunity, digital art, because so far art has been run by an elite of the world. Maybe 0.1% of the people of the world have access to art. But we are 8 billion people that can benefit from it, right? So it's an important aspect of it.
And just to keep on going, 5 seconds, is that we're working with the WHO as well, and we have an artist who's been working on cleft lips and also on with Venezuelan mental diseases, etc. And we know that looking at art, and the WHO has actually acknowledged this, is that as a patient, looking at art will help you heal quicker. So, we're a part of all of that. Antoine, you had a word?
Yeah, I wanted to share a quick story about that. Actually, I mentioned my co-founder Shaban created a blockchain game, the first one ever. The first card of this blockchain game was actually the FD card, made in cooperation with Stanford University for research against sickness. And you were getting fractions of this card if you connect your computing power to the system so that the researchers can use your computing power to run the calculus for the research. So actually, we use this system to connect geeks who happen to have the most powerful computers to benefit the researcher. So it's an early use case, but it was a way that we used to the blockchain technology for the whole community to benefit. But I'd say the most important things that we are looking right now is the opportunity of financiarization for all countries in the world by lowering cost using blockchain technologies. Because blockchain technologies automate tons of stuff. They make scenarios that run on banks impossible by automating and basically using technology as your medium of trust instead of an institution. And you can cut wire transfer fees. You can create new systems, peer-to-peer systems with only small phones in Africa, for instance. And I'd say it's one of the biggest things.
Thank you very much, Antoine. And I think with this, we reached the end of our discussion. I would like to thank you. Great panel. And big round of applause for them. Thank you very much. If you wish to speak to them on one-to-one, we will have a drink, and they're available to have a few questions. Please don't forget, we have the ATM machine if you want to mint your NFT. Thank you very much.
The ATM machine is pretty cool. You have to use it. Get your first NFT.
I just wanted... There's one more thing as well. Cynthia is going to be sharing her movie on the screen, which is in the other room, so stick around.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the panel. I would like to, as we did on previous panels, introduce David Ferguson, that is going to give you an award. It's interesting because you are getting mixed with AI experts, blockchain experts, space experts, art experts, tokenization experts. So it's really the community changing the world, and all of you are sharing the same award. So it's the beginning of the new Oscars, right? So I will introduce David Ferguson to give you, and then immediately after we will connect to give to the Chinese community their award as well.
Thanks, Carlos. I think this completes the circle for me. I thought I had covered just about every aspect and element and application of AI until tonight. So as you would have heard perhaps earlier, this award was conceived together with WISeKey and Wang Wei to recognize and to, we hope, motivate, inspire, and energize you to do even more than you have already with your innovation in digital art. So congratulations.
Before you break, maybe a picture of all of us.
Okay. Congratulations. So we just step here, right?
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
You want to come out around? Yes, of course. Okay. And it's my pleasure now to formally announce the opening of the China AI Bar. Jan, are we ready? It's time. So, who here in the room has not had Baiju before? Anybody in the room that has not ever had Baiju?
Baiju.
No? Oh, that's good. Okay, so you're all well prepared. We don't need to take your name and vital statistics and next of kin. You're ready, yes.
Okay.
So it's our pleasure. Wang Wei, perhaps you'll introduce this this Baiju that we're going to be having today.
Okay, thank you for the. It's my honor to representing one of the top Chinese wine. It's very strong, very alcoholic, but it's very famous in China. So we specially set up this section that's China Bar, and we introduced one of the top 3 brands called Guo Tai. It's very famous wine. Hope everyone can share with China taste and get inspired, not drunken, but inspired. So that's why. Let me show the bottle. There you go. The bottle. Oh, this is very famous national. Normally for the Congress, for the high-level official occasion, very enjoyable in China. So we like to everybody share this one. Okay. Great. So thank you for the chance.
We're going to allow the Baiju to be shared around the room, and then we'll come back to you in about 5 minutes to make a special announcement and some introductions and awards.
So enjoy it, but no drunken. Okay.
Bravo.
Yes. 所有中国的那个代表团团员带来哈，咱们都到场，然后替我们13个颁奖的，我们不念名字了，这都。